2, 1. We are live now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Myself, Dr. Vishal Dave. I am medical advisor at Intas Pharmaceuticals. On behalf of Intas, I welcome you all on 8th May 2024 on the webinar of the topic Current Updates on Post-Menopausal Bleeding and Contraception. It's a webinar between Foxy and Symbiosis Series. Before starting the webinar, we would like to play Saraswati.
शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
So it's my privilege to introduce the convener of this webinar, Dr. Monica Singh. Dr. Monica Singh is consultant reproductive medicine at Bhopal Fertility and Endoscopy Center. She is also professor at Ellen Medical College, Bhopal. She is managing committee member INSAR. She is also West Zone Coordinator, Medical Disorders Committee, Foxy. She is also convener of INSAR Perfection Series and convener of this Foxy Symbiosis Series. So I would like to hand the session to Dr. Monica Singh.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vishal, and thank you, Intas, for this academic program. I welcome you all on the 8th of May, Wednesday today, where we are doing a symbiosis. Symbiosis means a mutually beneficial relationship between two organizations or two people, two cultures. So here we have the Foxy Family Welfare Committee under chairmanship of Dr. Ashish Kale and Foxy Food, Drugs and Medico-Surgical Equipment Committee under the chairmanship of Dr. Ritu Khanna, who have symbiosed with Bhopal Obstetrics and Gynecological Society under the patronship of Foxy to give us the webinar on current updates on postmenopausal bleeding and contraception. We have been granted 4 ICOG points for this 4 hours program. And at the outset, I would like to thank President Foxy, Dr. Jaideep Tank, sir. Sir, I just talked to him, sir, just a few minutes back, and he might join for a couple of minutes, but because of his very, very busy schedule, he has always been very supporting of this series. He has, in fact, been supportive of all the high-tech events and all the changes which have been initiated by Dr. Payal, sir, and we are full of gratitude to Dr. Jaideep Tank. Next, I would like to thank and welcome Dr. Madhuri Patel, ma'am. I think she will definitely join for a few minutes in between.
Madam
And
is here.
Madam is here. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. And Madam, it just seems because 2 days back, she was in Bhopal and Hoshangabad, and we have talked for such a long time. We have interacted with her. We have done fashion show with her. So I'm really honored and full of happiness introducing Dr. Madhuri Patel, ma'am, our Secretary General Foxy, a very, very beloved Foxian. And she has held so many great positions in Foxy as well as in Jogi. And under her patronship and guidance, our journal Jogi is also growing by leaps and bounds. And Madam, without wasting time, I would like to have some words of blessings from you, ma'am.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you very much, Monica, for your warm words. And let me tell you that just 2 days back, I was in Bhopal and Hoshangabad. And this Dr. Adita Srivastav, Dr. Panisha, Dr. Shabana, Dr. Gopal, and Monica, and entire team are so cooperative, helpful, and they are so warm that you feel like going every time to their society. And we consider, of course, we are one family, but still going over there and getting all the hospitalities is really something you have to appreciate. And I'm really happy that Dr. Ranveer allowed her to come with me to Hoshangabad, and we reached again to Bhopal at 2 o'clock night, and he was all awake, till we reached, from Hoshangabad to Bhopal. So thank you, Dr. Ranveer. So with this, I would like to say respect to our Dr. Jaideep Chand, President Foxy, Dr. Neja, Vice President Foxy, Dr. Ashish, our committee chair, family planning, Dr. Ritu, doing no wonders. Rashish and Ritu are doing wonder. Our another dynamic committee chair. Then Dr. Anita, Dr. Shabana, Dr. Our Manisha, Monica, and of course our coordinator today is Dr. Monica and Dr. Ranbir. Then program coordinator are again Dr. Manisha Jain, Dr. Neetu Mishra, Dr. Poonam Purva Batkur, and our most chief guest, very well known chief guest, Dr. Lakshmi Shrikande. She is my very dear friend since last 3 decades, and I cannot say anything more, but we are friends today also and forever also. Similarly, Dr. Sampat Kumari and Dr. Preeti Kumar. Again, they are very good friend of mine and they are guest of honor today. And very nice to interact with all of you. And of course, special guest Dr. Rajat Ray. He is also dear friend of mine. Of course, all are my friends, but I must tell their name. And Dr. Rachna Dubey, recently I met her at the MPOX, a state conference where Dr. Kavita Singh, taken over. So Rachna Dubey, another dynamic lady, Dr. Padma Shukla, Dr. Archana Sharma, Dr. Nevdoli Mehra, Dr. Anita, Dr. Rashmi Kaha, Dr. Deepa, Dr. Archana Zha, Dr. Gayatri, Dr. Gunjan, Dr. Jagrati, Dr. Madhumita, Dr. Mudita, Dr. Neeta, Dr. Rekha, Dr. Shubha, Dr. Smita, and of course I cannot forget Dr. Vidhu and all my dear friends. Very good evening to all of you. Today's topics are fantastic. That is research updates in contraception, and I must tell, Ashish has gone how many places? Kenya, then he had gone to Nepal to learn the recent technique, and he will give the best on the recent advances in contraception. And of course, role of transvaginal sonography in postmenopausal lady. Now, Ritu is going to talk about it, and is excellent. We are facing, nowadays what I have observed, it is not a abnormal bleeding in the perimenopausal age group, but also in the postmenopausal age group. And nowadays we get the women, of the, they are menstruating till the age of 53, 54, and they are really worried. We say you are still not menopause, everything is going well, but if it's abnormal bleeding, then we have to investigate. And postmenopausal, we have to be very careful. We have to do ultrasonography, hysteroscopy, biopsy, and then many times you may get atropic endometritis. If it is hyperplastic, and then according to hyperplasia, you have to treat. But postmenopausal really scares us about the malignancy part, and even it is a not hyperplasia, not ATPS, still we have to treat if they are not going to follow up with us. But if they are going to follow up, then we can treat accordingly. And of course, fibroid in postmenopausal women. It is another new term, it is not new topic, but it is rarely talked about the fibroid in postmenopausal women. Then Monica is going to cover, and of course Dr. Lakshmi is going to cover on perimenopausal women. So fantastic topics. It is a need of the hour of these topics, and with this I congratulate all the organizer, especially Bhopal, then Dr. Bhopal Society, Monica, Ritu, Ashish, Dr. Jaideep, and all the organizer for the congratulate them for the best webinar, and I wish them best luck. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madhuri ma'am. And I must say, Madhuri ma'am always makes it a point to join, even if it is a couple of minutes. She always makes it a point and says such nice things about everyone. And thank you, Madhuri ma'am.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
And I would now like to pay my regards to our VP. VPs are the umbrellas under which the committees, they bloom. That is the phrase I have formed for the committees and the VP relationship. So Dr. Nirja Bhatla is again and again in our webinars. Somehow her committees we are doing with more, just in sequence. So we have seen her in so many programs, and we are always happy to introduce her. She is the professor and head of OBGY at AIMS New Delhi, the premium institution of medical school in India. And also she's the vice president of FOXY 2024. She has been council member, Asian Society of Gynec Oncology. She is a very big name in oncology all over the world. She has been very active with WHO for cervical cancer elimination. And she's also been the past chair of FIGO and FOXY Gynec Oncology committees. We welcome you, ma'am. And is she there, Dr. Manisha? Madam
Not yet, ma'am. Not
okay.
yet.
Next, I would like to invite and welcome our committee chairs, under whose guidance and because of whose permission we could do this program. We cannot go ahead till the committee chairs say yes, and they are always so cooperative. Dr. Ashish, Dr. Ritu, they gave us their time, they gave us all the commitments, they took out time for us. Dr. Ritu is doing such a big conference. Dr. Ashish is traveling such a lot, but they still, they are here to give talks, to introduce our committee members to her and give an outline of what the great work they are doing in Foxy. Dr. Ashish, we know everything about you, what a star you are in Pune, Dubai, everywhere. So without wasting time, I would like you to speak a few words about your committee and your vision for Foxy.
Thank you, Dr. Monica. At the outset, I'm really thankful to Bhopal OBGY Society and all of you, especially to say a few words about my Secretary General, Madam, who is always there for my every activity of Family Welfare Committee, Dr. Jaideep Sir, my VP in charge, Dr. Nirja Batla, and seniors on this side. It's a pleasure when you take the some committee which is really offbeat to your own profession, but you learn in Foxy. What is more important thing is like I learned so many things from my seniors, even if my colleagues, my co-chairpersons. So it's a learning phenomena. So I always thought of it's a Foxy family, and when you are talking as a family, you exchange ideas, you build up the relationship, and all that things goes for a longer time in your life. I really thankful to my committee members because last 1.5 year we had done some around 40 webinars. We had published GCPR. We published the book. We published newsletters for that matter. What I feel, apart from that, we have a social media presence. We do have AI, which is invented by one of my member of the Family Welfare Committee, whom is credit goes to that person, because whenever you are just type your age, your BMI, and your underlying disease, what comes down to our things is what is ideal contraception for that particular age and for a particular patient. We are coming up with the tracking device wherein the Foxy members are going to get to that location of the patient is such a that when he she is going to search for this particular advices, our Foxy members who are which is nearby will going to have a prominence of their clinics and their numbers to that particular patient. So I'm still learning because there is a 1.5 year more to go. I hope I will do much more for my committee. Thank you, Dr. Monica. And one more thing, I wish to compliment you for your continuous effort for in ISAR as well as in Foxy. And I wish you the best for your elections to Deepa also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ashish. And Deepa is there with me in my journey. I wish the best of luck for her endeavors, and thank you for your wishes. Next, I would like to introduce our committee chair, Dr. Ritu Khanna, another very, very dynamic star in Foxy. She is always, always busy, but always so gracious and so, encouraging to all activities we do. I have seen her talk about fertility. Seen her speak about imaging, about her own committee, hold conferences, do webinars, do ICOG certification courses. So Dr. Ritu, you are there everywhere, and you excel in each and every field. We know that she is heading a fertility clinic. She is a fertility specialist, endoscopic surgeon, chairperson right now, as well as the National Vice President of Indian Fertility Society. She is very active in UP Fetal Medicine chapter as well as UPCOG. So, madam, I think your CV is such a
Thank you so
CV.
much.
I think we would like to hear from you. What is your ma'am vision and your
Thank you, Monica. And first of all, my heartiest congratulations, Dr. Monica, Dr. Randir. I think very dynamic, so versatile, and so loving. And Monica, I really, wish you the very best, first of all, for all your endeavors. And Also, I must say that you've taken this name, Symbiosis. So when we're describing you, just bringing us together, you knit us so well that now we have to be together. So it's a wonderful symbiosis, that topic that you've chosen for your series which are going on. And my thanks to Dr. Ashish. I think we've been working together in a lot of our programs, and they've all been very fantastic events. And thank you to Bhopal Obstetric Gynec Society. As Madhuri Madam said, yes, they have a very, very warm hospitality. Whenever you go there, you don't even feel like coming back. But yes, thank you to Bhopal Obstetric Gynec Society. My regards to our president, Foxy. Really visionary, Dr. Jaydeep. Thanks, sir. Madhuri Madam is there. She's so very humble. And you rightly said she'll take out time. She'll somehow be there for you. So thank you, Madhuri Madam, for helping us and encouraging us. And when we listen to you, it's really, you take us all, you make us fly up. So thank you so much for your inspiring words. Dr. Nirja Madam, no words for a high energy, levels. And she takes you through to anything, maybe a most difficult task. Also, my gratitude to our chief guest, Lakshmi Shirikhande Madam. We've witnessed her tenure. That was fantastic. And how the time flew, we did not know. And also to our guest of honor, Sampath Madam, Preeti Kumar Ma'am, and also a special guest, Rajat Sir. Everybody is always a helping hand to us, and we just never have a no from them. And to mention with our president, Dr. Anita and Shabana, they're always, I think, there for you to help you out with
Thank you,
anything.
ma'am.
You're here for us. We are there for
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
So,
Very
Mani,
nice to see you, ma'am.
Purva, and they've done, I think, Monica, they've done a fantastic, coordination. Every time they'll give you some message, yes, you have to be there. So you can't forget your symbiosis. And yes, the panelists and are fantastic. I think it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful session, and wishing you all the very best for the webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Ritu ma'am. Thank you, Ritu ma'am, and pay my regards to husband, sir,
Yes,
Khanna sir, because we both cleared the 15 years
yes,
back the SC exam together. So
yes.
please pay my regards to sir.
Ashray was held in Germany, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
Randir and Dr. Yogesh, who were the two Indians to qualify only from that exam.
Great.
So
Thank you.
a real good time. And Deepa, wish
Yeah.
you all the best. And Dr. Preeti, wish you all the best for all the endeavors.
Thank
And
you, ma'am. Thank you, Ritu, ma'am, and thank you, Dr. Ashish. Thank you for your wishes.
Archana, madam, hi to you.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ritu ma'am. And those are very sweet words. And we can't wait to see you in Dehradun now.
Yeah,
And
I think everybody there.
yes, ma'am. We will definitely be in
Dehradun
Dehradun.
conference is actually going to rock.
Yes,
Yes.
I love the venue.
Looking forward to
Dr.
it.
Ritu, you can spare a few seconds for your conference here. Describe.
Yes. I wanted to describe, and
Yeah.
if I share my screen for just telling you that this is going to be a fantastic event over here. And I have the share screen. Okay, I can do it when I do my presentation. So I'll just invite you. It's a Foxy National Conference with Food and Drug Committee and the Uttarakhand and Dehradun societies. And the theme of the conference is resolving dilemmas through newer innovations in women's health. And we're going to have a special section for all the new innovations. So anybody who's got a newer innovation, please be there. And that's your contribution to India. So inviting every one of you, we've got 8 pre-Congress workshops, and then we've got 2 days of a fantastic academic session. Of course, Masuri, Rishikesh, Haridwar, all near to us. So we are going to be in a warm, cool atmosphere in a beautiful weekend. So welcome to you.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. We will be in the cool atmosphere and warm hearts, in
Yeah.
Dehradun. So everybody just head towards Dehradun in the scorching heat of June and enjoy Dehradun and mus. We used to call it mus when I was studying in Dehradun. So next, thank you, Ritu ma'am. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to introduce and welcome my Bhopal Obstetric Gynec Society President and Secretary, Dr. Shabana and Dr. Anita Srivastav. Dr. Anita is there, Dr. Shabana? Madam is there, Manisha?
No, madam has not joined us.
Okay, so we will now move to Dr. Anita Srivastav is the President Bhopal Obstetric Gynec Society. We thank her for her constant support in our series. And I would now invite our Secretary Bhopal Obs Gynec Society is also Professor HOD of the Department of OBGY at GMC Bhopal, my alma mater, to please, speak a few words about symbiosis and welcome Dr. Shabana. I think she was in the car. Manisha?
Madam joined. I think Madam was there.
Yeah, joined. Should she join? Doesn't matter, Manisha. What we can do is wait for them then.
Okay.
Maybe she'll reach home. And so next, over to you, Manisha. You are a program coordinator.
Madam,
I'll
chief
just,
guest. Chief
okay.
guest.
Oh, right, right. So now I move ahead with the program, and I thank my co-convener, Dr. Randhir Singh, and my program coordinator, Dr. Manisha, Dr. Neetu, and Dr. Purva, for always being there to help me. And with my team, I welcome our chief guest for today, Dr. Lakshmi Srikhande, ma'am. Welcome, Dr. Lakshmi. She has been there right from the beginning of the program, and she is a very renowned teacher and a very decorated Foxian in our country, the immediate past chairperson of ICOG, which held some fantastic programs during her tenure. Also, the national corresponding editor of Jogi and the national corresponding secretary of AMWI, that is the Association of Medical Women of India. Madam has also been very active in the ISOPAC chapter of Vidarbha. In the IMS Education Committee, she has held the post of chairperson, as well as chairperson of Fertility Enhancement Committee of ISOPAC. Madam has been the member of CEFOG Education Committee, president of AMWN, that is the Medical Women Wing of Nagpur 21 to 24, senior vice president of Foxy 2012, president Menopause Society Nagpur, and president Nagpur OBGY Society way back in 2005 and 6. Madam has been awarded the Nagpur Ratan Award from the hands of the very dynamic Union Minister Shri Nitinji Gadkari, received the Bharat Excellence Award for Women's Health, received Mehru Dara Hansotia Best Committee Award for her work as Chairperson HIV Committee in 2007 to 9, and received appreciation letter from Maharashtra government because of her active work in the field of saving girl child. She is a prolific, academician, a very big orator, has delivered so many orations, guest lectures, has had many publications. She is medical director of the Sri Khande Fertility Clinic at Nagpur. And madam, we welcome you with all our heart, and we would love to have words of blessings from you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Monica, for your lovely introduction and your warm words. And I must say, I will begin with the Monica because she is the connecting thread between Bhopal OBGY Society, the Family Welfare Committee, and the Foxy Food and Drug Medico-Surgical Equipment Committee. And I'm so happy to see that now Foxy committees have started collaborating. It is a very good thing, Ritu, Ashish, because more you collaborate, you can reach out to the more number of delegates and it becomes more impactful instead of duplicating. So I'm so happy that under the leadership of Dr. Jaideep Tang, I mean, more and more Foxy committees are coming forward and joining hands. And what to say about Madhuri? Madhuri, we know each other since 1991. So it is now 33 years. We were co-lecturer in JJ Hospital and yes, Madhuri, पता नहीं कब सोती है, कब उठती है, कब खाती है. I really don't know. This lady is so much dedicated to Foxy that words fall short. I mean, I'm short of words to describe her dedication. Madhuri, commendable, commendable. I mean, you are the fantastic first lady secretary general of Foxy. You deserve better and best things in life. So hats off to you, Madhuri, for your dedication. And Ritu, I know. Ritu, I'm missing your husband, Yogesh, because I enjoyed your hospitality at Varanasi. Ashish to has to clone himself to, I think, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, with his busy practice. I'm so happy. But Ashish, now you have started your committee work also. And now we can see you for your committee work. So it's so good because you are chairing a very, very important committee and you can really contribute to Foxy and the society. So keep coming, keep doing your good work. And I can see Sampath, your conference at Kodai Canal. I mean, I still remember. It was a fantastic conference. Preeti Kumar is here. Preeti, wish you all the very best for all your endeavors. I mean, your Lucknow AICOG, we still remember. It was fantastic. And Rajat is my brother. Rajat, he's always there, very soft spoken, humble, and I can see Rachna. Pay my regards to Dr. Meera Agnihotri, Rachna Dubey. I enjoyed Kanpur conference, WhatCon. I think her network is lost. So I am happy to see Deepa Mukundan is here and so many known. Dolly was here. I'm so happy to be part of your this current update Symbiosis series, Monica. And I know how difficult and challenging it is to have the series coming out with series day after day and having the relevant topics with the topmost faculties. So hats off to you, Monica. तुम्हारा जितना तारीफ किया जाए ना उतना कम है. And I am so happy कि रणधीर भी यहाँ है, नहीं तो मैं सोच रही थी कि रणधीर किधर है.
नहीं मैडम, I am always there with all of you.
नहीं नहीं रणदीप, बिल्कुल इसी तरह सपोर्ट करते रहो. And today's topics are fantastic. All the previous speakers have already elaborated about the topics and the faculties. So I will not come between you and the scientific deliberations. So Monica, wish you all the very best, not only for this webinar series, but all your future endeavors. I can see Preeti, you also, all the very best. So thank you for having me here, Monica. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And
Thank you, ma'am.
now, after the enlightening words by Dr. Lakshmi, ma'am, we take pleasure in introducing our guests of honor, Dr. Sampath Kumari, ma'am, and Dr. Preeti Kumar, ma'am. Dr. Professor Sampath Kumari is Professor in HOD of OBGY at Sri Muthu Kumaran Medical College and Research Institute. Madam has been Foxy Vice President in 2022 and Senate member of Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University. She's also been she's the national corresponding editor of Jogi and the founder secretary of TN Madam has been the retired deputy director of Institute of OBGY at MMC Chennai, President of Board of Studies OBGY at TN Dr. MGR Medical University, Chairperson Foxy Adolescent Health Committee in 2016 to 18, first ICOG Distinguished Governing Council Member Award in 21, Chairperson Women's Wing of IMA Chennai South, and IMA National President's Award and IMA TNSP Award recipient in 2021. We are honored to have you amongst us, Sampath ma'am, and we would love to have a few words from you.
Thank you, Dr. Monica. First, as everyone told, I should thank Monica for the repeated call and the good coordination. And the committees, Dr. Ritu Khanna, the Food and Drug Committee, and Ashish Kale, MTP, Family Welfare Committee. Both, as Lakshmi Madam told, now the committees are joining together and doing the work. It is really fantastic. Under the leadership of our great president, Dr. Jaideep Tank, and the first Secretary General, Dr. Madhuri Madam. Last 1 year, we were traveling everywhere. Madhuri Madam, it was really nice to be with Dr. Madhuri when I was Vice President last year. And next, our Vice President, Committee Vice President, Dr. Neeraja Butler, and the Chief Guest, Dr. Lakshmi Madam. Yes, in the Kodaikanal conference, I think I had all of you in our place except Ashish. He was not there. So we had the wonderful conference, and the next our guest of honor, Dr. Preeti Kumar, and the special guest, Dr. Rajat Rai. Preeti Kumar, nothing to tell about her. She is the Dawn of Safe Motherhood Committee, and she is continuing now in CEPFOG, and I think she will do all wonders in Foxy. And the topics you have taken, the Bhopal, when I was an adolescent health committee chairperson, I have been to Bhopal. I think that time Madhuri Chandra Madam was president, I think. So thanks to Dr. Bhopal President, Secretary Shabana, and Monica, and all. I can see Dr. Rachna also have been to Kanpur and her indoor place also. The topics you have chosen is really good. The recent concept in contraception and ultrasound in perimenopausal bleeding, perimenopausal woman, and fibroid. Then, as usual, the panel, I think Lakshmi Madam will rock it. The perimenopausal bleeding panel moderated by Lakshmi and all others. My best wishes for this webinar, and all the best to Dr. Deepa, Dr. Preeti, and Dr. Monica, and everyone whoever is contesting. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you for the guest of honor address, Sampath ma'am. And we would love to have all dignitaries in Bhopal for our VP conference. We are hosting 12, 13, 14 July. So we would love to have all of you there physically in Bhopal again. I am always delighted to introduce Professor Preeti Kumar ma'am. She is my mentor and teacher, guide to me, and she is our guest of honor for today. Madam is chairperson of Maternal and Perinatal Committee of CEPFOG, Chairperson of Safe Motherhood Committee of Foxy in the years 20 to 23, Committee Member of MFM Committee of AOFOC till 24, and Joint Secretary of India Gestosis Chapter from 24 to 26. Madam is a professor and head of Department of OBGY at Narayana Institute of Medical Sciences, Kanpur, and has been the organizing secretary of very, very successful conferences all over UP. Vice President of Lucknow Obsgyne Society 20 to 22, and the core member of so many organizations, small subcommittees, and the Foxy cells like Prevention of Violence Against Women Cell, recipient of awards like Foxy late RB Dr. S.N. Malhotra Appreciation Award, Foxy Badlav Achiever Award, recipient of Sniff-e-Ahan. Madam, it is Sniff-e-Ahan Award by Women Con at Prayagraj, Foxy Dhira Award, Shining Star Award from Lucknow OBGY Society, Women Healthcare Award from leading print media Dainik Jagran, Padma Bhushan Kamlabai Hospital Award, Foxy Dr. N.A. Pandit, Mr. N.A. Pandit and Mrs. Shelja Pandit Award. She is also the in charge of the Center of Skill Enhancement at Krishna Medical Center, Lucknow for Manyata, recipient of the Foxy Imaging Science Award 2004, Appreciation Award by Health Minister for ensuring safe motherhood in UP in 2020, Society Liaison Officer Foxy Figo PPH Project UP, awarded Woman Inspiration Award by Inner Wheel Club, that is Rotary, I think, recipient of Women Achiever Award by Lucknow OBGY Society on the 11th of July 22, and published several books as well as edited them. We are blessed to have you, Preeti ma'am, amongst us, and we would love to have a few words from you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Monica. I mean, this is the first time somebody has read the entire CV. So I'm so, somebody when reads about your CV, then you really feel very good. So first and foremost, congratulations to Dr. Ritu and Dr. Ashish. Very dynamic chairpersons. I met Ashish when he was secretary of Pune. We went there to do one conference by Dr. Brishikesh Pai, and very dynamic person. And I see a very bright future in Ashish. She's doing a commendable work and very humble person and very outspoken person, I must say. So congratulations, Ashish. I think it's a very challenging task to take this committee as because your field of work is something different, but hats off to you. You have done a wonderful job. You have attended so many, sessions by Government of India and also JPIGO and all those contraception, and please keep doing that. You have a lot of potential and you can do much, much better in this field. And what to say about Dr. Ritu? I mean, I have been associated with her for a very, very long time. So many conferences, IFS she did in Lucknow, and we had a very, wonderful memories of IFS from Varanasi. She managed everything at Lucknow, and now she's doing so at Dehradun. So all the best, Ritu, a very warm person and a very academic person. And Dr. Ritu, wish you all the best for all your endeavors and also for the conference. The next is I would really like to thank Monica. Monica, initially I was not much acquainted with Monica, but gradually when I met her, I found her, she's very, very dynamic and she has, insight into the subjects. Very good orator. I tried to connect to some of her webinars despite my very busy schedule. And she's a wonderful orator and very warm very soft spoken person. So politely she will call in the morning and just tell you that you have to join. So Monica, I see you a very bright future, and please keep doing the good work and you will definitely achieve your mission. And I really want to congratulate, and I'm really sometimes I envy the husbands who accompany their wives, because my husband never does that. So Randhir and Dr. Yogesh, hats off to you all, because you are wonderful husbands and you're supporting your wife so much. And we get a lot of strength. Actually, what Monica is doing is all because of you. And what Dr. Ritu is doing, I've never seen her alone in any of the conferences. So hats off to Dr. Yogesh also. So thank you so much. And now I would like to express my thanks to Dr. Jaideep Tank, a towering personality in Foxy. He's doing a great job. He got a huge project. I think Foxy has a challenge in doing that. And we should work it out. And 5 years, it's a big time to do that project. I have great regards for my, the chief guest, Dr. Lakshmi Shikhande. Thank you so much for your kind words, Dr. Rajat Ray. I really, appreciate you have a very cool personality and very helpful always. So whenever you call him, he's always there to help you. And Dr. Sampath ma'am, a lot of memories, lot of support always from Dr. Sampath Kumari. I worked as a North Zone coordinator for Adolescent Health Committee, and since then I'm associated with her, and I have learned a lot from her. And she was the person who is constantly pushing me, Preeti, you have that potential, you can go in Foxy. And after that, I fought the election of Safe Motherhood Committee Foxy. So thank you, Dr. Sampath, for all your support. And Rachna, whenever I see you, ऐसा लगता है जैसे अपनी ही बच्ची है वहाँ पे. So Rachna is always so helpful, and she is very good. And we had gone to Ujjain Mahakal for darshan, and she was very, very helpful in that. Deepa, I must comment here that Deepa was a secretary of Trichy Society. And when we were doing the projects everywhere, she came forward, especially Dr. Jayam and Dr. Ramni ma'am. And they wanted to do the private project in the private facilities on the hypertensive disorders, GDM, and we named it as Tainalam. Tainalam was safe motherhood. And this project went on for 6 months almost, right from the enrolling of facilities to pre-training survey to training, providing all IC material to Deepa and Dr. Malti. Malti was the president and Deepa was the secretary. She did a great job, and we have good memories of Tainalam. So thank you,
Thank you
Deepa.
so much, ma'am. Thank you
And congratulations to the Bhopal Ops and Guide Society, Dr. Neeta and Dr. Shabana, for taking this initiative of Symbiosis and doing the wonderful job. The only thing is I want to comment here is that Ashish, the family planning, the family welfare, I think we are doing a lot of Manita. Now, Monica has also joined this mission of Manita from MP. This portion, whenever we talk to the facilities, this is the weakest, the clinical aspect with the OBGYNs, no. So I think you can just have a survey about the knowledge, attitude, and practices among the OBGYNs. Just do a survey. Even if you can do it in the Manita and non-Manita facilities, and you will find a huge difference. So I think that will be a good paper for you, just doing a survey about the knowledge, practice, and attitudes. Because if you see a postpartum IUCD, the acceptance in UP is just 28%. Most of the private facilities are not providing postpartum contraception. It's only the public facilities which are providing. So that's a big area where you can work and explore and give more hands-on training to the OBGYNs on family welfare and family planning techniques. So that's a good thing, so that you can do. So you have enough time still left with the chairperson, so that you can explore more even with the Manita facilities. Try to find out how much gaps still persist after Manita training. So that would be a good insight for the Foxy also. Like we are doing Manita training, quality assessment is done. Still, there are gaps in the family welfare and family planning. So all the best to all the speakers. The topics are very well chosen. And I'm sure I will be logged in and will hear to all the speakers and all the wonderful panel I'm looking forward to. The speakers are also fantastic, all the three speakers. So all the best to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Preeti.
And just a humble support. Can I make a humble request to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm
Sure, sure, ma'am.
contesting.
Sure, ma'am.
I'm contesting for the post of Vice President Foxy North Zone. And it's a humble request to everybody. Please support my candidature. I have served Foxy as a Safe Motherhood Committee chairperson. And right now I am the chairperson of Maternal and Perinatal Health Committee of CEFOG. So wish to do something more. A lot has been done, but still lot has to be done. So thank you so much once again. And I seek your humble support, and please nominate from your society, Bhopal also. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am. Thank
Definitely.
you.
Thank
My president, my secretary, half of my managing committee is here, ma'am, Preeti ma'am, and we are all for you. And you don't know how much you mean to me personally. You can't even, ma'am, estimate the depth of my love for you, ma'am. So now I would like to, Dr. Vishal, we will introduce our special guest, Dr. Rajat Ray, and then we will introduce Bhopal Obscani dignitaries. We welcome warmly Dr. Rajat Ray amongst us, who is a special guest for this evening in the Symbiosis webinar. Sir is Professor HOD OBGY, High Tech Medical College, Rourkela, National Dean of Indian College of Medical Ultrasound, Honorary Professor IMA Headquarters, New Delhi, and State President IMA Odisha State 22. Sir has been National Vice President of FOXI 2018, Executive Member of ISAR, SFM, and Indian Federation of Ultrasound in Medicine and Biology. Sir has also been the Governing Council member of ICOG in 2015 to 17, and Sir is Director of Ray Hospital and Test Tube Baby Center, Rourkela, sir. Welcome, sir, as special guest to this program, and we would like to have blessings from you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Monica, for this nice introduction. At first, I must congratulate you for this brilliant scientific program you have planned today. And besides that, I got the opportunity to listen from my good friends of Foxy, Dr. Madhuri, Dr. Lakshmi, Dr. Sampath Kumari, Dr. Preeti Kumar, Dr. Ashish Kale, Dr. Ritu, you, and Dr. Randhir. All are there, and all Gopal Obstetric Gynecology Society is there. Thank you very much. And I should not waste much of time. Thank you, and wish you all the best for all your future endeavors, and wish you all the best. And wish you all the best to Dr. Preeti and Dr. Deepa also. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rajat sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation, and thank you for extending good wishes. My thanks and my welcome would not be complete without introducing my dynamic president of Bhopal OBGY Society, Dr. Anita Srivastav. She has joined along with our secretary, Dr. Shabana Sultan. Madam is an alumnus of NSCB Medical College, Jabalpur, and she was my senior resident when I was doing a post-graduation in Bhopal. She is at present working in the Chirayu Medical College Hospital and has served Bhopal OBGY Society in various capacities. Right now, she is heading the organization of more than 360 members. She has a working experience of more than 30 years, is a Pfizer Medallion awardee in 1990, and special interest in routine obstetrics, high-risk pregnancy, adolescent health, and cosmetic gynecology is her latest new passion. Madam, we would like to have a few words from you.
Monica, I'm not visible right now.
Now you're visible. Now you're visible, madam.
I'll just say all the best to you and your team to conduct this webinar, as well as for the post which you are contesting. I wish you all the best. Okay, just few words. That's all. Okay, bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
All the best. All the best.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for your wishes. Dr. Shabana, secretary, is here. Shabana, are you there?
Hey, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So against time, my connection also together.
Yeah, but Shabana is heading the biggest, the department of OBGY of the biggest medical college of MP, I think. We are the largest medical college of MP, Dr. Shabana.
Yes.
Yes, and a very dynamic obstetrician gynecologist, very active Foxian. Her, a major areas of interest are PPH, gynec oncology, high-risk pregnancy, and she is a wonderful speaker. We'll, soon enough have a talk from her. She has done several important projects along with Harvard University and is a master trainer of cervical screening program. Shabana, you've always been very supportive of the programs, a very, big contributor. So kindly we'd like to have a few words from you. No, I know your voice is breaking, Shabana. I think the connection is unstable. Would you like to reach home and speak then?
Now I'm audible.
Yeah. Yes.
Audible, yeah.
So actually I'm there in the car. I really appreciate Monica Didi. She's such an active and such a graceful personality, and I wish all the best for her coming election. She's contesting for perinatology committee, and on behalf of her, she's my elder sister. I request everyone to kindly vote Monica Didi, and I also wish the other chairpersons who are contesting for the chairperson election as well as the vice president. I welcome all the dignitaries on behalf of BOGS. And the Symbiosis Series is actually a series which is a good idea of Monica ma'am and Randhir sir. And I really appreciate for the topic she has chosen, always so much fruitful and so much good speak with combination of a good speaker. So all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shabana, for joining. And we would like to have you once you reach home. We would like you to come again into the program. And now
Sure, I'm here.
I now would like to introduce Dr. Manisha Jain, who is Treasurer of Bhopal Obsgynae Society, as well as the Program Coordinator for today. I can speak about her, Vishal. No need to bother about the slide. She is a dynamic contributor to Symbiosis. In fact, when I started Symbiosis, I had just two girls with me, Manisha and Purnima. Now I have more of them with me. And now we are doing this continuously. I just have to, formulate the program, give them a theme, give them an idea of the speakers, and all of them do it. There is Neetu, there is Manisha, and hello Neetu, Neetu Mishra. Just wave your hand. She is from AIMS Bhopal, and Manisha is from People's Medical College Bhopal. They are all associate professors and professors. One of them has delivered us beautiful baby today. Dr. Purva Bhatkur just had an elective cesarean today, so she must be in hospital watching us. Over to you, dear coordinators, for starting the first session.
Thank you so much, Monica ma'am. It's my proud privilege to be part of this STEAM program today. After all the blessings of all the senior stars of the Foxy and the blessings of the God, we proceed with our academic session today. And to begin with, we have none other than Dr. Ashish Kale sir, who will be speaking on such an important topic on recent updates on contraception. And to chair his session, we have esteemed chairpersons today with us. And I take extreme proud to welcome of chairpersons, Dr. Rashna Dubey Madam and Dr. Padma Shukla today here. Dr. Rashna Dubey Madam is from our own city of Lakes, Bhopal. She is a very eminent and very dynamic personality. She is currently the director of the Health IEC, also the state nodal for preventive gynec onco and infertility. She also center in charge for the state of art center. She has done immense work in her cervical cancer, adolescent health, and she has been received emerging women executive in healthcare preventive gynec program from Harvard School of Public Health, USA. She has also the recipient of various awards, especially the National Award, SR Distinguished Service Award, and many more. I welcome you, ma'am, for today's session, Dr. Rashna Dubey, ma'am.
Thank you so
Next
much for the
chairperson, we have Dr. Padma Shukla, again, very sweet personality from the city of Riva. She is the president of the Riva Obsgynae Society and member of MPIP Committee Foxy. She has again has immense done contributed chapters and papers in various journals and conferences. A recipient of Jagdishri Mishra Award and also Durusha Award. She has been the faculty to various state and national conferences. Over to chairpersons now to take over the further session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manisha, for this wonderful introduction. And it's my proud privilege to be here as a chairperson to Dr. Ashish Kale, who would be presenting about the complete contraceptive. Being an author of Complete Contraceptive Technology for NIHFW and a state trainer for newer contraception, this was very close to my heart. And when Dr. Monica told me to be here as a chairperson, I was very, very glad, and to listen to him would be a pleasure. Basically, we all know that the scope of family planning methods is much beyond contraception, in preventing pregnancies related to health issues related to women, reducing infant mortality, helping women with RTI, STI, and HIV, family planning methods like condom is very important. It's very important for empowering women and enhancing education, reducing adolescent pregnancies. Family planning methods have immense potential. So a brief introduction about Dr. Kale. I can't see the screen actually. Can you? Yeah. Dr. Ashish Ramchandra Kale is a chairperson of the Family Welfare Committee Foxy 2023-25. He is Secretary POGS Pune Ops and Gynae Society 2022-23. Clinical Secretary ISA 2022-24. Executive Member AGE 2018-24. Founder Librarian Maharashtra Chapter of 2019-2023, executive member of Maharashtra chapter of ISAR 2018 to 2023. He's an executive member of the National ISAR 2016-2022, vice president POGS 2018 to 2019, treasurer Maharashtra ISAR 2016-2018, executive vice president POGS 2016-2017, and he has been the recipient of Champions of ISAR 2020, Kamnira Orishan Foxy 2017, Young Achiever Award IMA 2017, Foxy Future Awards 2017, Young Researcher Awards of POGS 2017, peer reviewer for Joggi and Suffolk, and he's a member of Isher, and he has written about 30 chapters in various books. And presently, he's director of Asha IVF Centers, which has its centers in various parts of the country and abroad also. And he's also director of Asha Kiran Hospitals, Pune. And welcome you, sir. And we would be so keen listening to your lecture.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for those kind words. I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yeah, it's visible.
So today, I'm at the outset, I'm really thankful to Dr. Monica, Dr. Ranbir Singh, Foxy President, Secretaries of our family, Foxy, as well as my VP and Chief Guest, Dr. Rajat Ray, Lakshmi Madam, for giving me a chance to talk on the contraception and updates. So I think when we talking about contraception, and I'm really very much happy that Dr. Rachna Dubey is she is the apt person who is chairing my session, and I'm happy to deliver the lecture. What is our trend and what is the India is, whether it is a shining or whether it has to little bit work has to be done to make it really a shining in the field of family planning. So here we go. What we thought of is we are evolving in 2020 when the COVID comes. We all of us knows that we are locked in our homes. Then there is no services which is available. But still, I find myself very happy because family planning services in India has boosted up the uptakes from the different segments of the population. As you rightly said, even if subcutaneous DMPA, or for that matters, nowadays implants are coming up. So we will be very much happy to introduce different methods and different populations so that the uptake ratio is going to get increased. We know we have a diversity in our country. It's not our country is not having the same religion and the same customs. We have a beliefs. We have a different socio-economical strata. So definitely India's has a different diversity, but we are not happy that we are a contribution to the world population is now we are becoming the number one. We are surpassing the China by population. So this is not something we like to hear from the world when we're talking about the international congresses. The agenda is today's presentation of mine, what is epidemiology and what is statistics and what the available methods with the latest updates. Where do we stand? National family planning programs and the AI and machine learning in contraception. Because all of us, when we chat GPT, this is something we fascinated about. When we talk about AI in endoscopy or for that matter infertility, we are very much what we call is interested into it. So similarly, the AI now plays a role in our daily practices as far as the family planning services is considered. If you are talking that that's really our fertility rate or is increasing, my friends, it is not like that. Still, there are the many states where the fertility rate is not achievable. It's not achieved that much. We are showing the downward trend in the fertility rates, and it is not the good sign. But still, on the other hand, we have the potential whom we have to cater our family planning services to the greater extent, because if the total fertility rate is going to achieve 2.1 or 2.3, what it means to us, there is the population in which the unmet need is going to be there, and it needs to be addressed. If you are thinking in that line, and let me assure you, these are, if you see, this is the busy slide where we compare the NHS 4 and NHS 5 survey, wherein a total unmet need is downfalling. But last couple of things, if you see, there is not much of a difference. The unmet need for the spacing is coming down, as I know that the fertility rate is also not that much great. So what these things means to us? This means to us that there is a lot of things has to be done in this particular family planning services. We know the types of contraception used by the married couples, but if you can see, there is still a lot of things that is going to go in our thinking that the female sterilization also plays the important role. And you can see the 33.3% by the NHS 5 survey that there are no methods are been used, and this where we need to talk and we need to work upon it. And I'm very much glad that the 60 members of the FOXY who are a family to us in my committee, they are working day in and day out for advocacy for this need and talking to the population, because we know there are the two things that we need to understand. We only always talk about the doctor's education. We talked about CMEs, we talked about webinars, but these are the very small population where we are generating our awareness. The majority of the awareness needs to be generated into the population which we are going to cater, and these are my 60 members who are going to do it and still doing it. So these are the certain success stories of the family planning programs. If you can see, this particular female sterilization remains the most important, and still today it is the where our government policies, and it is enrooted in our deep into our systems. If you go to the rural areas and you talk about family planning services, the first come is a female sterilization, and then you can see that there is a downward trend. The male sterilization again is not what Dr. Preeti was talking about PPIUCDs. I definitely know, even if it is a Manyata project or even if it is a non-trained person, the uptake or the service provider, there is a two definitely a need of a service providers as well as the donors. Where in a situations where I gone to the Chhattisgarh, where I find out the need of a donor is there, where the supply is a questionable, and that has to be addressed by the government of India, and we are already working with them. Dr. Pawan Kumar, the secretary of GOI, already we have discussions with them. What needs to be done when there is a need and when there is a demand, and then the third thing is complaint is talking about is the supply and the donor, where we required a subsidies, we required the free of cost, wherein our every single woman in India has a capacity to advocate this and to accept whatever she is willing for. These are the certain things. If you can see the state of a contraceptive use in India, you can see there are the certain good performance states and there are some states which is not that much good performance. If you can see the rate, majority of them Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Orissa, where we need to have more work to be done by our own FOXY members as well as those who are from the government side. There has to have a lot of works to be done, because when I see in a government policies they are making for the what the feedback they take from the society. What is we are lagging as a FOXY members? We are never producing the data. How much copper is or how much is the PPIUCDs is been done in the private sectors also, and this has not been awarded. So what I wish to talk to the government, and we are also advocating the same, that we need to have the at least recognition of our FOXY members who are doing their works at the private sector also, which is not the scenario with the government sector. All of us knows that that's the latest. We have a LARC, we have a short reversible contraceptions and the long reversible contraceptions. Definitely a condom, female condom, or maybe a pills, hormonal rings, IUCDs, and these are the shorter ways of reversible contraceptions. Definitely, you can give with the implants and the injections with which comes with the LARC methods. I totally what do you call as updates. Here we need to have. There are the two states which is already empanel and going with the government scheme of implants training. The organon from the private sector is doing for the FOXY. From the FOXY side, we are also training the people. There is called as TOT, training of the trainers, and definitely we are going with it. We are trained, I think, more than 30 gynecologists for the implant insertions and removal. Any of the FOXY society who is wish to interested in having the implant training, we are there to help them out. So these are the long-acting reversible. We are knowing about the IUCDs, but the implant is something which is coming up, and government of India also wants in a higher side to uptake of it and distribution of the same. Similarly, if you're talking about the male, I will be coming in a short while, where there is a RISUK. that is a reversible contraception for male also, and that I will be talking about. The India also has made in India. When our Prime Minister Modi ji talked about we should be self-sufficient and we should have our own brands to create. Definitely, we are having it. We have a Chaya, we have Antra, and these are our own product wherein own research molecules where the now the world is looking at, and these are the way we should be proud of when we are our Indian contribution to the family welfare services are considered. The 55% of the country's population is living in 24 states, and which is already achieved the replacement level of fertility. But there is some of the things which is still this has to be achievable, and that achievable things are going to be done in next 1.5 year from our family planning services. The non-hormonal syndrome is what is made in India. What I was talking about. These are the what you call as services, which is much more uptake in what I've seen from the getting the data from the government, that during the COVID we have a totally upskillment of this particular contraceptive device, wherein it is an active ingredient of ormelomycin. It is a non-hormonal developed by our own indigenous way, and suitable for the women with any medical comorbidity, and also in the postpartum period. And this is well taken by our Indian population, and that's why it is a long way to have these particular things. The contraceptive implants, it is a definitely we come up with the 3 rods, 2 rods, and now we have come up with the single rod. It is a very easy. My dear friends, when we're talking about the gynecologist, we are the most what you call as indigenous doctors, because we done the curatings when there is nothing is visible. Only with our hands we do all the procedures with the special gift given by the god of a palpation. So if that we are going to do it, I think the implants are a cakewalk for us. It's very easy to implement and insert the implants. There are the few studies which will tell you that the implants are gone to the remote places and the removal is difficult. But majority of the things, even if the I will not say underdeveloped, but the African countries, if they are doing it, why not our India can do? And the gynecologists like us in Foxian, definitely it is just a training is required, and it is a just your expertise into that field that matters. It is definitely a good method of LARC. Where I was talking about Risuk, this is again our indigenous way of a Kharagpur IIT and Professor S.K. Guha. He is working about the LARC methods for the male contraception, wherein a 60 milligram of a sterlinin, what is the SMA, is dissolved in a DMSO 1:2 ratio, and this has to be instituted in the vas deferens, wherein the proximal part of a vase has to be occluded, and then you have to inject this particular thing. You have to release that part, and then it will be stay there. It is a reversible. So the same thing, if you are going to dissolve that block, and it's going to have a reversible contraception. The family planning programs are launched. Now we are talking about a population stabilization. We are come up with the Hum Do Hamare Do, then it is coming down to 360-degree holistic approach. Now the new logo comes out to be like a Zimmedari Nibao and Plan Bana. We don't want unplanned pregnancies. We don't want the load on the healthcare system in order to serve our population, because we don't want the non-medical persons going to do the NTPs and the illegal abortions. So definitely it is in our hands to advocate this when the patient come down to us to talk about them, about the different strategies, and according to their need, what the population we are going to cater, whether it is adolescent population, whether it is a reproductive population, or whether it is a postmenopausal also. The contraception is a need, and it has to be inculcated in our routine practice as far as the family planning services are considered. The key highlights of this family planning programs, which is the India is the first country to launch a national family planning services. So we have the policy levels, we have this at the service level. The policy is usually talk about the target-free approach. They talked about the voluntary adoptions of the family plan methods. It basically what I feel as a chairperson of this particular committee is a need of that particular patient at that particular time frame. If the patient is adolescent, you cannot be judgmental about her views, what she is need for. You are not judgmental to talk what is the whether she is involving into the sexual activity. You are a person who is going to talk to her what is the need for her, and that is a long way for as a service provider for providing the contraception as a holistic approach. The key initiatives, and there are the different programs and different initiatives. The expansions of the family planning services now expanded from the LARC. We know the implants are coming up. We know subcutaneous DMPA is there. Why subcutaneous is much more acceptable? Because I think it comes in a pre-filled and it has to be given a subcutaneously. As a IVF specialist, if we are giving the injections for stimulation for 10 and 11 days, why not giving a subcutaneous what is for a shorter period? Because what needs to understand is a follow-up of those patients, and there are we are working on reminders giving to them after 3 months, like if it is a self-care, then the WHO also now come up with the self-care kit. Why it is necessity? Because if we are going to educate our population for their own needs, it is much more easier as a service provider to talk to them, and because they are then much more receptive, and our uptake of the services is going to get on a higher side. The generating demands and awareness, which I talked about, definitely there is addressing about the family planning now. In a Nepal meet, we have a 2030 vision. What that vision is about? Vision is about that how the service providers is can be a much more acceptable for the population, because what is the first things which any female can go is a chemist. That is the first interaction between the service provider and the client. So if there is a much more things we can do it at the level of the chemist, which can be easily uptakeable, which can be easily reproducible in a different countries. Why not it going to happen in India? And it is we are working on it so that the chemist themselves can be talking about to the client about their need, whether she requires LARC or whether she requires short term of the reversible contraception. And the more information if you are giving, then the acceptability is going to get increased. The augmentation of the demands is a home delivery of the contraceptives that is usually been seen in a COVID era, ensuring the spacing of the births and the pregnancy testing kits. Now it is a WHO also come up with the self-care kit, which also has a kit of a pregnancy which can detect the pregnancy. Then there is a termination, and then there is a leaflet about the education about the contraception. So Mission Parivar Vikas, which is the objective of the GOI, which is delivering the assurance services, ensuring the commodity cells and services, building the capacity, creating the environment which is acceptable for all of us as a delivering partners to our clients. So what is a three what you call as engagements? The engagements at the private sectors as well as the public sector. Public sector, always the government is talking about delivering their services to the public areas and through the public system. I think a private sector, what as a Foxian, what we can able to do is to have because all of us are techno savvy, all of us are having the internet, having the smartphone. So we are thought of having something new and which is developed in a new communication campaign. It's gone are the days where you are having the posters and the prints. Now we have the web page. The Foxy also has a web page. We do have a celebrity WhatsApp videos so that the client is going to get more interactives. And then there is a called as a chatbot. So if you ask any question, the chatbot person is going to give the proper information, and the information is a power. If we are going to deliver more information to the clients and more population, so the uptake is going to get increased, and we are going to achieve that target in coming years. The unified software of the logistics, these are already I talked about. What I need to talk about here is what is Foxy is doing. This is the AI launch of our we had done it 1 year back, and which is float now. If you go to the Google store, you will download this particular app, and you will come to know these are the simplistic things the patient has to just log in. And this is the what we call as uptake. And the updates in a family planning is now the AI system is working for us. We need not to go to the wheel and to find out which is a better family planning device for her. It is this particular AI which has given all the information, give us all the feed up, so that the all the things once the patient is feeding into it will get the definitely uptake and which is a most apt for that particular patient will come up. So sex educations, I think that is you need not. It's my talk will be incomplete about the updates because we need to have advocacy. We need to have a different channels. We need to have NGOs. We need to have more more partners with us to give the sex education about the contraception, because it starts from the part of the curriculum in the schools, because that is the apt age where the receptivity is going to have a much more. If you can see, these are the datas where we are doing it as a government programs and NGO programs as well as in schools and colleges. I must acknowledge the efforts put up by the Kota OBGY Society, where the IITian colleges and the pre-NEET classes rooms are much more, where we are doing it every alternate Monday for whole the college and whole private sectors, where we are included our members. We are going there regularly. We are advocating our services to them. So to conclude my talk and updates, I think the national standpoint, there is a clearly a desire and need to introduce more contraception options to the public sector. More research are to be needed. We know we are RISUB now, that is a male reversible contraception, but need to have a more research, and the acceptability of the public for unplanned pregnancy still continue to occur, and this is a much more problem. So more research needed to be a field of a male contraception. The government and non-profit organizations are need to devote the necessary resources for long-term efficacy of the family planning in our country, and that's what I need to talk about. Thank you. Thank you for your patience here.
Thank you, Dr. Kale, for your brilliant talk. You have explained everything in such a way, and you have, what I liked is the launch of this online launch about the guide, about the not to educate our people. That was very nice in that way. And you, as you said, that we need to make our own data, especially in private setup as well, because in government setup we get some data, but in private we don't have any data. So it is really very important to get the data from the private as well. And you very well said that the Indian contribution to the world should be recognized. That is really, because sometimes people say that ormeloxifan, oh, they have not innovated. Although means people have recognized, and they said that this is useful in the and for to control the fertility. So it was a good thing, and which we don't recognize basically somehow. Long acting contraceptives are definitely, they have got more acceptance, as you said. And even we see, like, initially the females, they used to like the copper tea, but as the implants are coming, I think they will be more acceptable to the people. And we should go for, definitely, I would like to take the training for that. It is really a very good thing. Thank you so much for very elaborated and innovative talk. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. We are looking forward for any one of you or any society to have these training programs where there. We like to come over and train many more gynecologists in our country. And what I feel is we should proud of our as being Indian rather than the data. And that's why whenever I go to GOI, madam, just taking a 1 minute extra, I always put forward our Foxy as a private sectors, what is doing for the family planning services. Always he is talking about government sector and why you are not. I said, sir, you just recognize one of us from the East district, what they are doing. how much properties or how much things we are doing, how much social activities we are doing, and at least recognize at the government level. We don't want anything from your side. And so the recognition from the government will give us a strength to do much more activities. And that's why it's going to be in a pipeline. I don't know how they are implementing it, but it's my way of doing forward.
No, it's a great way, sir. I must say, it's a great way.
Thank you so much, chairpersons. And Rashna, would like to add up something or to proceed to the next session?
It was a wonderful presentation. I was listening to it, and I would like to add here, Dr. Kale, that of course we are doing a lot of things in the government sector, and we have got a huge paraphernalia right from the grassroots level workers to the state level, and we have a whole cafeteria approach, be it injectable contraceptions or chaya or antra, whatever you were talking about. We have all this. But definitely, if we collaborate well with the private sector like Foxy, then we are going to have a holistic approach of what are the family planning approaches and what is the acceptability. Because what we are looking at the government sector is only the people who are availing services from the government sector and not at the private sector. So if there's something, if the coordination can take place, in fact, we were also pushing at the level of the government from Madhya Pradesh that there should be some collaboration with organizations like Foxys and other general practitioners who are giving services related to family planning. And that should also be getting clubbed with what services we are providing so that we get a holistic data of what's happening in India.
Thank you.
Wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much, chairpersons, and thank you, Ashish Khan, for wonderful deliberation after such an important distinct topic. Now we move on to the next very important topic by none other than our committee chair, Dr. Ritu Khanna ma'am. Madam will be speaking on role of transvaginal sonography in post-menopausal bleeding. Again, very important topic. To chair her session, I'd like to welcome our esteemed chairpersons, Dr. Archana Sharma ma'am and Dr. Dolly Mehra ma'am. Dr. Archana Sharma madam is the president of the Ghaziabad Orthopedic Society, and she is a consultant and IVF laparoscopic surgeon for more than 3 decades. She has done immense work in Ghaziabad Society in different capacities, and she has been instrumental in organizing very successful state and national conferences, to special mention midterm UP and North Zone Yuva Foxy. She has been recipient of various awards, and especially the recipient of Dainik Jagran Ayushman Award for her excellent services in medical field. I welcome you, ma'am, for today's session. Next chairperson is Dr. Dolly Mehra, ma'am. Again, a very dynamic and very active member of the Ratlam Orthopedic Society. She is the president of the Ratlam Orthopedic Society and consultant at Mehra Nursing Home. She has been the organizing chairperson of the MP State AMPOX in 2018. Again, a very successful and very memorable conference that we attended. She is the zonal coordinator of Foxy and again held various faculty to various conferences, authored various chapters, reviewer of the Zogi, and has been the recipient of various awards, especially to mention of the Darusha Youth Trophy Award, Champions of Foxy Award, and many more. I welcome you, ma'am, and we are really privileged and honored to have you. Over to chairpersons to take over. Dr. Archana Sharma, ma'am, Dr. Dolly Mehra, ma'am.
Yeah, Dr. Archana is there? No.
She's there. She's logged in.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Good evening. Regards to Foxy President, Dr. Jaydeep, Dr. Madhuri Patel, Dr. Lakshmi Shikhande, Dr. Rajat Ray, Dr. Preeti, Dr. Sampath, and Dr. Batla, Nirja Batla. Thanks for giving me this opportunity, Dr. Monica, Dr. Randhir, Dr. Srivastav, Dr. Shabana, Dr. Manisha, Dr. Neetu, and best wishes to dear Pooja. Today's topic, role of transvaginal sonography in postmenopausal bleeding, of course, is a very important one, because as the incidence of obesity, the PCOD, diabetes is increasing, it is very important to, deal with this topic and to recognize these women, to do this investigations, which is very important to avoid future morbidities in these patients. So for this topic, I call upon Dr. Ritu Khanna. Madam is director of the Khanna Medical Center, Varanasi, and she is chairperson of the Foxy Food and Drug Medico-Surgical Equipment Committee 2021 to 2024, National Vice President, Indian Fertility Society, Secretary of the Society of Fetal Medicine UP Chapter, Central Executive Committee member of the Society of Fetal Medicine, Executive member UP COG to 2021 to 2024, Vice President of Varanasi Obs and Gynae Society, Organizing Secretary of Fertivision.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Dolly. Thank you so much. And Dr. Archana, thank you for those very, very kind and loving words. And it's always a pleasure to be in any of the programs Monica is arranging. And yes, it's a good opportunity to meet all good friends, on this panel. So I hope you can see my slide.
Yeah.
Okay, so now moving to the subject of role of transvaginal ultrasound in evaluating in postmenopausal bleeding. Now, whenever we sit into a OPDs, 70% of the postmenopausal patients we see, they may be suffering from some or the other abnormal genital bleeding. And now these patients are alarmed by the symptoms as well as the physician equally as much alarmed by the postmenopausal bleeding. Why? Because it stands as a focus and we need to identify and exclude such malignant pathologies as the cause. So the approach is very important, what we do. So while traditional diagnosis that used to happen earlier was only through an endometrial biopsy, and diagnosing is trending now to the use of an ultrasound, this being a non-invasive nature, its decreased cost, and of course the increased accuracy in the postmenopausal women. So now if you look into the diagnostic tools over here, you have so many of them. You have the endometrial biopsy, you have the transvaginal, you have the saline infusion, then you have the color Doppler, and also the 3D ultrasound. So the differential diagnosis of postmenopausal is very wide, starting from the atrophic to the endometrial hyperplasia, to the endometrial polyp, to the carcinoma, cervical cancer, and of course could be a leiomyosarcoma too. So postmenopausal bleeding, when we see, usually when we come across is anatrophic changes of vagina or the endometrium. But yes, we need to look on the age, we need to look on the risk factors. And if we look into this, we find that 1 to 14% of these who are having a postmenopausal bleeding may have an endometrial cancer. Now, even if you leave apart the age and the risk factors, we need to take into consideration, not limited to age, is obesity, is the use of any unopposed estrogen, any specific medical conditions. She's got a PCOS, she had a type 2 diabetes, atypical glandular cells on the cervical screening on cytology, or a family history of a gynecological malignancy. So these have to be kept in the back of our mind while we're going to investigate. Now, when you're putting a transvaginal probe, you measure the endometrial thickness as the maximum of the anterior posterior thickness of the endometrial ego on a long axis of this transvaginal view of the uterus. Now, when you do a transvaginal, usually it is sufficient that your initial ultrasound, if it reveals a thin endometrial ego, which is less than equal to 4 millimeter, it gives an endometrial thickness. This is more than 99% a negative predictive value of an endometrial cancer. Now, there were reports when they compared, they said, let's compare this transvaginal to the endometrial sampling when it was 4 to 5 millimeters. In women with postmenopausal bleeding, reliably they found that excluded the endometrial cancer. Even after that, they went on with lot of confirmatory multicentric trials. And you look at these trials, you find then when it was less than 4 millimeters, yes, it was 100%, again less than 4, 99%, and less than 3, 99, and again less than 4 was this. So that was the message that they said, yes, less than 4 millimeter has got a 99% negative predictive value. But that they said, let's look at how many diagnoses are we going to miss when we're going to take this cutoff as the limit. So if you look into the chart, when it was less than 3, the equivalent fraction of missing was 1 in 383, and it's less than 4, it's 1 in 339, and it's less than 5, again 239. So therefore they said, even on the basis of the misses, you say, a 4 millimeter endometrial echo as a cutoff has been extremely highly negative. Now, so therefore, this transvaginal ultrasound reasonably stands as an alternative to an endometrial sampling whenever you're evaluating a postmenopausal woman, but when she has an initial episode of bleeding. Therefore, ultrasound to measure the endometrial echo should be offered as an initial evaluation only to those women who have had an initial episode And here then, after this, there is no further evaluation that would be needed if the endometer stands less than 4 millimeter. But now if this patient has a persistent or a recurrent bleeding, and that triggers the further evaluation. So if blind sampling does not reveal a hyperplasia malignancy, the further testing has to be done as hysteroscopy or dilatation curettage in the women who are having a persistent or recurrent bleeding. So ultrasonography should be used for the patient whose prior probability of cancer or hyperplasia is low enough so that further you may not need any additional testing. The endometer sampling should be the first line of test for women who are either at high risk of an endometrial cancer or a intraepithelial neoplasia, or they're having recurrent episodes of this bleeding. So whenever you're measuring, there are certain limitations of every gadget that you use. It's the thickest part of the endometrium that you're measuring, and I said it's anterior diameter and distance between the two echogenic borders which are measured. But the limitations could be if it's an axial uterus, if there's obesity, there's so many myomas, it's an adenomyosis, there's a pre-existing uterine surgery, and that could contribute to difficulty in reliable measuring this endometrium. Now, if there's a failure to identify a thin, distinct endometrial echo, then you again are triggered to use your other gadgets to do the diagnosis. If there's an endometrial fluid, what do? This fluid has not to be included in your measurement. So you measure something above the fluid and that below the fluid, and you add both of them, and that's the thickness that you get. So therefore, limitations are there. When they did an endometrial tissue sampling, resulting in findings, they said that 97 consecutive women with postmenopausal bleeding were done, and they were able to perform it only in 82%. The sample adequate for diagnosis was obtained only in 27% of these women. Therefore, transvaginal stands as a triage for the women in whom the office endometer sampling was performed, but this tissue was not sufficient enough for the diagnosis. No further evaluation necessary after an insufficient endometrial biopsy if subsequent transvaginal shows a thin endometrial, postmenopausal bleeding has occurred, but this bleeding has stopped. Because the rare cases of endometrial carcinoma could be present in endometrium, which is even less than 3 millimeter, with a persistent or recurrent uterine bleeding, therefore, they stand to have some histological evaluation, regardless of the endometrial thickness. And why did we do this? Because endometrial carcinoma is perceived as a curable carcinoma. And therefore, if you found out the pathology, you could promptly do the intervention and, of course, manage this successfully. So now let's look at a wide case scenarios where we can use our different gadgets to find out a way for this patient. Now, she was a 67 years old with a history of vaginal spotting, and she's been experiencing the symptoms for on and off for the past 6 months. There is a lack of vaginal lubrication and postcoital pain. The bleeding is worsened postcoitally. She had 3 pregnancies, all of them uncomplicated, denies any history of sexually transmitted infection, and the last past pair was 8 months prior, and that was unremarkable. No other medical history has been reported. So on physical examination, there's no distress, vitals absolutely okay, and you put a speculum and you show that there's a vaginal wall which is very thin and it's reddened. And when they did this was the ultrasound image, a very thin endometrium, which is just 1.8 millimeter. And they took out a biopsy and they found that it contained mucus, blood, and little tissue. So the diagnosis of an atrophic endometrium was made. Now, this is a 54-year-old woman who complains of abnormal and sporadic bleeding for the past 3 months. Now, she's very concerned because she's already completed her menopause. Her last menstrual period was 5 years prior, and she, after that, initial history was that she had difficulty in getting pregnant due to PCOS, and there was no history of any sexually transmitted diseases. Last pap smear was negative for the pathology. She is morbidly obese. She is diabetic, 15 years of a history of diabetes. She has a history of hypertension, and she says there's no weight loss, pelvic pain, or any other symptoms apart. But her BMI is 42, and when they put a speculum, they said, yes, there's a dried blood in the vaginal vault. And a transvaginal was done over here, and you can see a diffusely thickened endometrium, 17 millimeter. And they put a color Doppler, and they said, yes, it's seen as regularly separated peripheral vessels, and these vessels had a moderate to a high vascular impedance over here. Then they did a biopsy and it coincided and said, yes, it's an endometrial hyperplasia. Now, this is a 61-year-old complains of an abnormal bleeding on and off for about 3 weeks. She says that the bleeding is very light and she had one sexual partner in her lifetime. She was never diagnosed with any sexually transmitted infection, and the pap smear, which was done last year, was just normal. Currently, this woman is being treated for the breast cancer, and she has a medically controlled hypertension. She is not experiencing any other symptom beside vaginal bleeding. So when this female who had a BMI of 29, they did a speculum examination and there was small amount of blood in the vaginal canal. They did a PV examination that was unremarkable, and they did an ultrasound when they said that it is a focal endometrial thickening, which is detected like this. And they did a saline infusion and they found that yes, it looks to be an endometrial polyp. So they used the color Doppler, and this color Doppler showed a single feeding vessel, and this endometrial polyp was removed by histoscopy and confirmed also on histopathology. Now, the fourth case is a 65-year-old woman with a history of vaginal bleeding and abnormal vaginal bleeding, and this bleeding was disturbing her since the last 2 months. She had also a history of heavy white discharge, which was going on and off, and she had 2 sexual partners in a lifetime. But a pap smear done 3 years ago was normal. This woman had a medical history for type 2 diabetes and hypertension, and at the age of 42, she was first diagnosed to be having a history of breast cancer. Then this cancer, she was treated, and there was a recurrence at 64 years of age, and currently she is on the medications of diabetes and hypertension. So there were no other symptoms, and physical examination said she's obese, her BMI is 33, and on speculum, there was some dark blood which was seen into vagina. Then they did a biomental examination and said that she has got a slightly enlarged uterus, which is there. So an imaging was done, and look at this with the 3D and imaging. What they found was the endometrium was very thick, and of course they put the color Doppler, and that was ill-defined endometrium we can see with irregular vessels within the myometrium of the uterus. And yes, the sonographic and Doppler findings were suggestive. All of them were low vascular impedance with a resistive index of 0.3, and yes, the high velocity of the myometrial blood flow suggested that there is some new vascularization within the deep myometrial layers, and the histopathology was done, and it proved to be an invasive endometrial carcinoma with a deep myometrial invasion. If you move it to the next case, she was 52 years and there was vaginal spotting, there was postcoital bleeding, and she also had some pelvic pain. The bleeding was very unpredictable, very burdensome, and she says, I have pelvic pain, which is stabbing, and it radiates to both my legs. And she's currently sexually active with her husband, and she admits to have had a sexual relation outside of her marriage. She had a history of vaginal infection with HSV2, and that was diagnosed 15 years back, but no other significant medical history. She smokes 1 pack of cigarettes per day, and she's had some recent bowel disturbances and has been experiencing some discomfort with her bowel movements. Now, this patient had no other distress and all, and a pelvic examination and also revealed, yes, there was some blood on the gloves which were used, and there was blood in the vaginal canal, and the speculum showed some friable necrotic lesion that was visible on the cervix. So then they did a transvaginal ultrasound, and they revealed that, yes, this is a cervical mass with randomly dispersed penetrating vessels over here, and the colposcopy performed was consistent with the cervical carcinoma. And now moving into the 74-year-old woman with abnormal vaginal discharge and bleeding, the symptoms worsened significantly for the past 3 months. The pain was very constant, and she said it's very dull and aching pain. She had 2 children at the age of 45 and 47 with 4 sexual partners in a lifetime. At the age of 46, they said she was diagnosed leiomyoma. Then she was given depot luperon. This leiomyoma slowly resolved. 5 years later, when they performed another pelvic ultrasound, they saw two small fibroids measuring 2 and 1.5 centimeters. So, on pelvic examination in the speculum, there was some dark blood, and when they did a biomanual, said that the uterus is bulky and enlarged, and the imaging showed heterogeneous uterus, and the color Doppler showed, if you can see into the pic, it is highly vascularized, and with irregular vessels, the low vascular impedance, blood flow signals, and so these signals were diagnostic for a uterine malignancy, and this was confirmed on histopathology as a leiomyosarcoma. So 4 millimeter as a cutoff is extremely high negative predictive value, but a thickened endometrial echo is not diagnostic of any particular pathology, and even an extremely high probability that a woman with a negative screening test result truly does not have the condition, a thin endometrial echo does not exclude all the possibilities of the disease, because we know that the thin endometrial echo, but with a recurrent episode, we cannot exclude the type 2 endometrial cancer with uterine papillary serous mucinous and clear cell ones. So repeated episodes of postmenopausal and the ongoing postmenopausal bleeding do require histological evaluation, even with an apparently thin endometrium. Given its ease of performance, outpatient endometrial sampling with disposable devices is a primary method of choice for histological evaluation, and for those with recurrent or having a high risk with a history of a family or a history of anybody having a malignancy in the family. And if blind sampling does not reveal an endometrial hyperplasia or a malignancy, a further testing like a hysteroscopy and dilatation curettage is warranted in the evaluation of women with a persistent or a recurrent bleeding. And endometrial measurement, anything which is more than 4 millimeter, but it's seen incidentally, in a postmenopausal patient, and she doesn't have any bleeding. But now this does not trigger any further evaluation, although individual assessment is still based on the risk factors. Transvaginal is not an appropriate tool for screening patients for endometrial carcinoma in postmenopausal without any bleeding. So utility of this transvaginal to exclude the pathology in the postmenopausal should not be extrapolated to asymptomatic postmenopausal women without bleeding. So this is how you use your different tools of ultrasound. Maybe it's a 2D, it's a 3D, it's a SIS, or it's a color Doppler that will help you to assist you to definitely screen off your patient and make a perfect diagnosis for her also. So sometimes you make the decision right, and sometimes you make sometimes you make the right decision, and sometimes you make the decision right. So thank you so much for a very patient hearing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ritu Khanna, for such a wonderful and excellent presentation you have given. Of course, whenever there is a complaint or the symptom present in any of the patient, you should start with the ultrasound. We can go for the transvaginal ultrasound, but other tools are really color Doppler screening, and other tools are very much important. And one has to go with the hysteroscopy and the endometrial sampling, and that will be conclusive of any of the diagnosis. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was a wonderful talk, Dr. Ritu. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
Always a pleasure listening to you, ma'am. Very good take-home points now. We now move on to the next section. Again, a very important topic by our own Vice President, Dr. Monica Singh, ma'am, and the convener of today's program. Ma'am will be speaking on fibroids in postmenopausal women. And to chair her session, I'd like to welcome the chairpersons as Dr. Anita Peter, ma'am. I think I can't see her as joining. Dr. Neetu, has she joined? Ma'am is the president of the Ujjain Obscurity Society. I don't think she's joined. Can we have the next CV?
Yeah, she has not joined, Dr. Manisha.
Next chairperson is Dr. Rashmi Kar, madam. I welcome you, ma'am, for today's session. Ma'am is the president of the Amravati Obscurity Society and chairperson of the High Risk Pregnancy Committee, AMOX. She is a director of the Kharodkar Maternity Hospital, Amravati. I welcome you, ma'am. Next chairperson we have with us Dr. Deepa Mukundandan, again a very active and dynamic member from the Trichy Ops Gynae Society. She has been the past secretary of the Trichy Ops Gynae Society and currently the South Zone Coordinator and Executive Committee member of Midlife Management Committee Foxy. She is also the master trainer and core committee member of the ERA project. She has avidly practicing menopausal this thing and has been the winner of the Champions of Foxy Award, MS Signature Award, and President Rotating Trophy Award, and has organized various conferences at national and state level. And I welcome you, ma'am, for today's session. And I'd like to hand over the session to chairpersons to kindly introduce the speaker. Madam is already introduced, but take over the session further. Thank you. Dr. Deepa, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you for that kind introduction. I think today's program is a brilliant one. Dr. Monica Singh, hats off to you and to the team Bhopal Obgyn Society. Thanks for having me here on this wonderful session. And my respects to Dr. Jaideep Tang, President Foxy, Dr. Madhuri Patel, and it was Dr. Neerja Batla ma'am. And it is so nice to see all the chairpersons. Dr. Ritu ma'am, your presentation was brilliant. I think we are having a great time here. Dr. Ashish Kale, his presentation was also really, really nice, very informative. And I think we are having a wonderful panel also coming up. First of all, congratulations to Dr. Monica Singh for conceiving such a brilliant webinar today. Just today, I had a patient with postmenopausal bleeding and fibroid. This was a recurrent postmenopausal bleeding. 2 years back, she had just some bleeding and this was dismissed. So I think it's a very, very relevant talk for today, and a lot of controversies, ifs and buts, and a lot of diagnostic dilemmas, especially when I've seen many patients with what looks like a polyp within the endometrium actually sometimes is a fibroid polyp. And when you go on to do a people sampling or something, you don't get any material and you start wondering what is happening. So postmenopausal bleeding is a kind of a tricky situation. Many a time, many patients neglect and come late, and a lot of counseling is required. So I'm waiting to listen to the speaker. This is going to be a really interesting topic for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Deepa, and thank you, Dr. Rashmi, for the kind introduction. And Dr. Rashmi is also there, Manish.
Yeah.
Rashmi is also my chairperson, no?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Please introduce
Yes,
Dr. Rashmi.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I introduce ma'am.
Actually, you have introduced Rashmi. Yes, she
ma'am.
was introduced
Yes.
before Dr. Deepa, yes.
Yes.
Thank you, dear chairperson. And just allow me a second. Yeah. So today we'll be talking about the management of fibroids in perimenopause and postmenopause. We also have had a great idea from Ritu ma'am as to how you use your transvaginal sonography so aptly for assessment of the uterus. Means it is just in between the lectures, I did TVS for a woman, and I made the 3D rendered image and everything. It's so encouraging to see the inside of the uterus as brilliantly as you would see in hysteroscopy, thanks to the latest gadgets we have today. So just carrying this talk forward, we'll be talking in the flow of the talk about incidence and risk factors which lead to fibroid, the pathology of fibroid, how it persists and happens in the perimenopausal age group, and how it continues to trouble the woman even when she is postmenopause. How does it present clinically? What are the diagnostic modalities available to us? And what does the management hold for us? So this is the way the uterus can be in a postmenopausal. You can see the atrophic cervix, but uterus is covered with fibroids of various FIGO stages in a hysterectomy specimen. And that's the typical pathology slide we would have seen in our second professional days with all the whorls of that fibromyomatous tissue. So actually, uterine fibroids are benign tumors. For all the trouble they cause, they still remain benign because they arise from this single genetically altered mesenchymal stem cell under the influence of gonadal hormones in the body. Now, what's most interesting is that they are the most common benign gynecologic tumor in the premenopausal woman, and nearly 70 to 80% of all women will develop uterine fibroids at some point of time in their life. They not only sometimes remain asymptomatic, but when symptomatic, they can present with AUB, like the fibroid polyp just now Dr. Deepa mentioned, pelvic fullness, and of course, for fertility specialists like us, they are a sort of, something which we have to constantly fight against, because we have to constantly, rack our brains as to leave the fibroid behind before ART, or should we remove it. And naturally, there is another concept of natural regression of fibroids once the woman reaches menopause. So this is what I told you, that they remain asymptomatic in nearly 50% of affected women. And we are, waiting for the menopause to happen so that they may regress in size, so that the estrogen influence, goes after menopause, and the fibroid growth also regresses. But there are some patients whose quality of life is deeply affected by the presence of fibroids, and it is of grave importance that we have to tackle those. Now, since uterine fibroids display a definite dependency on ovarian hormones, it is critical that we know the role of estrogen and progesterone in understanding their pathogenesis and treatment. And I thoroughly enjoyed preparing this lecture, because I revised all the physiology, all the receptors and everything, because we tend to, do one topic and then forget about the other. Now, fibroids express more estrogen receptors as compared to progesterone receptors as compared to the adjacent myometrium. And when estrogen is circulating in the body in any form, it increases the expression of the progesterone receptors, as well it increases the sensitivity on receptive tissues of these receptors, including the fibroids. So that is why if you want to suppress the uterine fibroid growth, you can treat the woman with a continuous long-acting GnRH agonist injection, a long-acting analog for a period of 3 months, or you can give them monthly. And this happens, it creates a state of menopause. There is decreased release of estrogen and progesterone in response to down-regulated GnRH receptors in the pituitary. So menopause is mimicked. And this again verifies the critical role of ovarian steroid hormones in the pathogenesis as well as the growth of uterine fibroids. Now, just to revise, what is perimenopause? This is the period which starts prior to cessation of menses, and the symptoms of menopause start. During this stage, the level of important hormones in the body is altered. The FSH levels gradually start to increase, reflecting the end of reproductive years, and estrogen and progesterone also gradually diminish. So you can divide perimenopause into two stages. There is an early stage where women will experience variable menstrual cycles, irregularity. Some have heavy bleeding, some have scanty periods, irregular spotting, etc. And a later stage when amenorrhea is greater than 60 days, 90 days, and ultimately, the menses stop. The prevalence of clinically symptomatic uterine fibroids peaks in the perimenopausal years and declines following menopause because the estrogen and the progesterone go. So the general approach when women are asymptomatic or the symptoms are very mild is for the gynecologist to just wait and watch, follow, do a good TVS, do a good transabdominal, reassure, and wait for menopause. At this time, you can just give add-ons, iron therapy, reassurance, follow-up, and everything. But when symptoms affect the quality of life grossly, hysterectomy used to be the treatment of choice earlier, maybe 10 years back, and maybe in some peripheral areas today also. But now, if we, have knowledge, and we have the knowledge of the way these drugs behave, we have several medical options to ameliorate the symptoms and reduce the size of the fibroids. Now, AUB accounts for more than three-fourths of all gynecological consultations in perimenopausal and postmenopausal women, because there is a multitude of presentations and so many pathologies which mimic AUB. We have now AUB, the palm coin classification, in which we, automatically, as soon as a patient comes, we classify that. But at the same time, like Ritu ma'am told us, we have to exclude serious pathology such as CA or complex atypical hyperplasia and identify the cause of bleeding properly. Now, what about postmenopausal fibroids and obesity? We have so many, even, all of us, we struggle with the, increase in the abdominal girth and weight gain after, in the perimenopause and postmenopause. So how does it affect the size of fibroids and the growth of fibroids? Now, obesity has been defined by WHO as BMI more than 30 kilogram per meter square. So when the woman is obese or near obese, it doubles the risk of uterine fibroids, irrespective of whether she uses hormone therapy or not. This is because the uterine fibroids are estrogen responsive, and the increased adipose tissue in these women creates a higher estrogenic environment from the peripheral conversion of estrogen, predisposing them for the growth of the uterine fibroids even after menopause. So, even when the obese woman has, been into menopause a couple of years, she will still have experienced a growth in the fibroids. And these are the women who, usually land up in surgery. Now, postmenopausal fibroids, do they have aromatase enzyme expression? Yes, uterine fibroid cells have been definitely shown to express the aromatase enzyme, which is also present in subcutaneous tissue. And what does this do? This locally synthesizes estrogen from androgens, and the most commonly converted androgen is androstenedione. That is why some uterine fibroids do not regress in postmenopausal women, even when the ovarian hormone influence is gone. That is why the therapeutic use of aromatase inhibitors has come. That aromatase inhibitors, when you use letrozole or drugs like that, they can suppress the estrogen levels and cause regression in the size of the fibroids. Do postmenopausal fibroids have an effect on bone age? Now, here I'll be talking a little about menopause. That menopause transition is a very critical period in the bone remodeling in women, and this sets the stage for development of osteoporosis and the fracture susceptibility in these older women. Now, certain hyperestrogenic states like obesity. So, obesity is causing the growth of fibroids, but obesity at the same time has protective effect on the bones, because even though this obese woman has got increased load, mechanical load on her bones, the estrogen of the body, of the obesity, is causing the bones to remain healthier for a long time. Now, researchers have found that perimenopausal and early menopausal women who underwent hysterectomies for symptomatic uterine fibroids had lower risk of fractures because of the higher circulating estrogen in the body, led to protective effect on the osteoporotic changes. A word about leiomyosarcomas. So whenever there is uterine fibroid, you see with central necrosis or degenerated hypoechoic centers, you have to differentiate, or you have to rule out a leiomyosarcoma, an endometrial polyp undergoing malignant changes. So there is no tool or marker as such which can distinguish these two pathologies before you operate and actually do a histopathology. There has been some study about elevated LDH isoenzyme 3 in the serum, but no pelvic imaging or biomarker can, actually diagnose or differentiate between the two. So any continued growth of a uterine mass and postmenopausal bleeding associated with the mass is worrisome, and you should definitely try to evaluate for possible uterine leiomyosarcomas, though the incidence is rare. Now, what about HRT? Now, so many of these pharma companies are coming up with combos of estrogen, progesterone in different doses. So what happens to these women if they take HRT? The natural regression of uterine fibroids in menopause is due to the lowering of the levels of estrogen and progesterone in these women. So all of us are worried that when we give hormone therapy or MHT or menopausal hormone therapy to these women, will the fibroids recur or grow because of that? So research is inconclusive. Uterine fibroid growth definitely peaks when the woman starts hormone therapy. But as they continue taking the hormone therapy, the uterine fibroid growth plateaus and then decreases. But definitely when you start MHT in a patient with fibroids, you have to explain that they may be at more risk for increase in the uterine fibroid size as compared to a woman whose uterus does not have a fibroid. And if you use a MHT with progesterone, you should use the lowest possible dose in order to avoid the uterine fibroid growth, along with advice of a good TVS every 3 months. And definitely, if the uterine fibroid size keeps increasing, HT should be discontinued. Coming to the management, a word about Tibolon. Now, Tibolon is something which is a very popular drug. I was advised Tibolon, though I didn't take anything. But Tibolon is a drug which has got very many advantages. This is actually a pro-drug, and after administration, the effects are a mix of estrogenic, progesterogenic, and androgenic. So this drug is very beneficial because it not only preserves the bone mineral density, but definitely reduces hot flushes, increases libido, vaginal lubrication with minimal effect on the cholesterol and the triglyceride and the lipoprotein levels. So overall, Tibolon can be used to reduce menopausal symptoms because at the same time, it does not increase the size of the uterine fibroid. So here we are saying that the fibroid will remain the same. Coming to the newer drugs which are available in our armamentarium, we are talking about how to avoid surgery in these women, how to make her tide over the menopausal period with fibroids in the uterus with the help of certain evidence-based drugs. So these include aromatase inhibitors, SERMs or selective estrogen receptor modulators, uterine artery embolization, of course, which requires a specialized center and skill, and selective progesterone receptor modulators. A little bit about letrozole because it is so freely available to us. As I talked earlier, this is an aromatase inhibitor, which is mainly used because of its anti-estrogenic effect. And the ability of aromatase to suppress the endogenous estrogen level may prove to be useful in its use as treatment of uterine fibroids and uterine fibroid-related uterine bleeding, especially in postmenopausal obese women. So when you compare to GnRH agonists, studies have been done which show that letrozole has same efficacy and very fewer side effects as compared to the GnRH agonist group, which leads to very stark menopausal changes. Coming to the SERMs or tamoxifen and raloxifene, so these are a pair of selective estrogen receptor modulators. They have a tissue-specific action because they act with a mixed agonist and antagonist effect on the estrogen receptors. Tamoxifen is mainly used in onco, in breast cancer. And we are scared of using tamoxifen in bone and in endometrium because of the increased risk of endometrial hyperplasia, especially when you have prolonged use. Our more favored drug is raloxifene, which is used for the treatment of osteoporosis. And raloxifene in postmenopausal women with uterine fibroids suppresses the growth of the fibroid, severity of AUB, and a beneficial effect is seen in such women. Uterine artery embolization, as I told you, it requires an interventional radiologist who is skilled in this procedure. It may be costly procedure. Here, the occluding agents are injected into one or both of the uterine arteries. So since the blood supply to the uterus and the fibroids is occluded, the growth of the fibroids is stalled. But there is a need for skill, need for the machine, need for the intervention radiologist, cost, and the common complication is the post-embolization syndrome. Here, the patient presents with mild fever, pain, and there is vaginal expulsion of the pieces of the fibroids. It is definitely a good treatment option for those women who are not good surgical candidates and who also wish to preserve the uterus. Coming to SPRMs or selective progesterone receptor modulators, this is a class of synthetic steroids, again with a mix of agonist and antagonist effect on progesterone receptors. Here, the most well-known drug is ulipristal acetate. This exhibits antagonistic property on the uterus, cervix, ovaries, and hypothalamus. It blocks the progesterone receptors, thereby reducing the uterine fibroid size. But the main concern is the changes in the endometrium because of unbalanced estrogen activity, and thicker endometrium definitely has to be monitored apart from the, the effects on the liver and the kidney. So this is it is safe. There are differences in opinion as far as ulipristal use is. Sometimes it comes back, it goes, but definitely it is safe according to study, provides fast control of bleeding, and has caused sustained fibroid volume reduction in a vast majority, almost 80% of the cases. So when UPA is given, the fibroids, they shrink because of cell proliferation is inhibited. cell death or apoptosis sort of phenomena occurs, and there is fibrosis and resorption. And here, if the symptoms recur, you can use repeated intermittent 3-month courses of daily UPA in order to maximize the impact of your treatment. And there have been reports where the fibroids, moderate to small size, have disappeared completely. But definitely you have to be very careful in patients with liver disorders and renal profile. So to conclude and talk about the future and just sum up the talk, we know that these are common benign tumors. And, in the past, it was always thought that uterine fibroids can resolve with menopause. But in obese women, in other factors, with MHT, they may still present and manifest with AUB. Therefore, it is significantly important to do a thorough evaluation and rule out pathologies. Medical management is there to stay because it can not only provide symptomatic relief, and it could also be used as a bridge into menopause as a period when the uterine fibroids may naturally regress. It is still not clear why some fibroids regress and others do not in the peri and the postmenopause period, and subtle hormonal regulations definitely are involved. It is challenging to differentiate between malignancy and a benign fibroid. Further research and biomarkers should be, there, which will help us differentiate between the two. And a wide range of treatment options are now available. A clinician has to be, using them and explaining to the patient everything. Now, the main thing is how to explain to the patient, and she has to be kept into the knowledge circle of what drug is being used on her, what are the risks, what are the benefits, and pros and cons. Although the statement that uterine fibroids regress with the onset of menopause is realistic, it does not happen in every case. Thank you all for a patient hearing and seeking your blessings for my candidature for the post of Chairperson, Foxy Perinatology Committee, along with my dear friends Deepa, dear Madam Dr. Preeti Kumar, in our endeavors. Thank you so much.
I must say, brilliant presentation, Dr. Monica, as usual. And as you rightly said, generally we used to believe that during perimenopause or postmenopause, the fibroids they shrink in size and poses us with less problems. But now we accept that in perimenopause and postmenopausal age group also there can be some increase or persistence in the size of the fibroids. You have so well compared and all the factors which can affect during this age group on fibroids, like the obesity, HRT, effects of all the drugs. It was a very nice presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rashmi.
I would like to say that only two things we could take care of, like possibilities of sarcomatous changes during this age group and maybe degenerations in the fibroids. It was a brilliant presentation, and thank you for including me. Thank you so
much. Thank you, Dr. Rashmi, and thank you. Best wishes to you also, Dr. Rashmi. I took Deepa's name. I forgot to take your name. Best wishes to you, Dr. Rashmi, for your, endeavors in Foxy.
Thank you so much, Monica. It's a great.
Madam,
it was a wonderful. Sorry.
So we are having 3 persons here: Monica,
Yes.
Rashmi, and Deepa.
And Madam Preeti Kumar ma'am was also there.
Preeti, so I think logged out, I think, but currently we are there for chairperson's post.
Madam, she had another webinar, so she left after guest of honor address.
Good evening, Lakshmi Madam.
That was a brilliant presentation, Dr. Monica. Really nice, very practical, I should say.
Thank you.
Maybe we can add MR guided focused ultrasound
Yes.
for patients who are not. I think that is easier, more expensive, of course, but easier than uterine artery embolization, I think, in
So,
patients who are not fit for surgery.
Do you have any comparative data on this?
I don't have, but it's a very simple procedure. I've had patients.
There have been reports of thermal injury and what are the complication rates if you compare? Any idea? Because I'd really for
I
this
don't
lecture,
have statistics at the moment, but I've had some patients who have really responded well. So it's just a suggestion that I don't have statistics right now at the moment.
Lakshmi ma'am is there with us. I think she can.
For that, patient selection is very, very important, and there are all the criteria who are the patients who are best suited for that therapy. So if you do proper patient selection, I mean, then there are no chances of thermal injury.
Okay.
Right,
Yes,
of
ma'am.
course. I mean, for any procedure, we have to enlist that these are the possible complication, but patient selection makes all the difference.
Yes.
Yeah, very nice. And thank you so much for having me here. My humble appeal to everyone. I'm standing for the post of chairperson, Midlife Management Committee. I'm currently the national coordinator for Midlife Committee. And I've been working with Dr. Shaijas for the last 3 years. We have done some wonderful programs. I will be doing programs. I'll be inviting all of you too, and seeking your nomination, support for nomination and vote. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Dr. Monica and Team Bhopal Society. And I'm really enjoying today's program. Yeah.
Thank you, Deepa. Rashmi, you would like to speak a few words, Rashmi, for your this thing?
Yeah, it's a great honor to be here with all the respected presidents and secretaries of various societies. And I'm contesting for Practical Obstetrics Committee. And it would be a great privilege for me if you consider my nomination. Thank you so much.
Thank you, chairpersons. I think Dr. Neeta madam joined for some time, but I think again I can't see her. So I know. Thank you all chairpersons, and thank you all those who are contesting for the various elections. We wish all the best to all of them. And stage is all set now, and for the rocking panel discussion by Lakshmi Shikhande ma'am. And I'd like to hand over the proceedings to my co-moderator, Dr. Neetu Mishra ma'am. Over to Neetu Mishra, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now we move ahead with the panel discussion. The discussion is on perimenopausal bleeding, and the moderator of the session is none other than Dr. Lakshmi Shikhande ma'am. She is immediate past chairperson ICOG and national corresponding editor of Jogi.
Just introduce the panelist.
And short introduction of the panelists, Neetu, very short.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Who are here? I mean, introduce.
Yes, ma'am. I will just.
You can take attendance.
First panelist is Dr. Archana.
Yeah, good evening. I'm here. Namaste to all.
Good.
Very good webinar.
Archana is here.
He is Vice President, Bhagalpur OBGY Society. And
it's okay, ma'am. You can proceed for the next
our
panelist.
second panelist for the session is Dr. Gayatri Singh, ma'am. She is not. She has not joined.
Yes, ma'am. I will.
Gayatri, you are here?
No.
No.
Jagriti?
Jagriti ma'am is has not joined.
Some background noise, I think.
Madhumita, are you here?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Madhumita Arun Karthik, she is President Salem chapter. She is here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Madhumita? Madhumita. I saw Madhumita.
Mudita ma'am is here, ma'am. Dr. Mudita Jain. She is the past secretary and treasurer of Box and currently professor.
Listening lot of echoes, Mr. Vishal. Can you just
Mudita is here. Yeah. Before Mudita, you said Madhumati only, na? Madhumita.
Ma'am, Archana Jha ma'am is here. Gunjan Gupta. Actually, it was skipped. Dr. Gunjan Gupta is with us.
I can see Gunjan Gupta from the beginning. Yes.
Dr. Gunjan Gupta is with us.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Dr. Gunjan Gupta is director and founder of Gunjan IVF World in Delhi, Ghaziabad, and Meerut, Noida. She is very renowned academician and has many awards to her bag. We welcome you, ma'am, for the panel discussion.
Thanks,
And
Dr.
next panelist, we have Jagriti ma'am is not with us today. She is busy. Dr. Madhumita Arun Karthik. She is treasurer, Salem chapter of Tapisar. She is here as panel. Welcome you, ma'am. Our next panelist is Professor Dr. Mudita Jain Talesara. She is Professor OBGY, RKDF Bhopal, and also past secretary and past treasurer of Bhopal OBGY Society. We welcome you, ma'am, to the panel discussion. Our next panelist present here is Dr. Neetu Ahirwar. She is Associate Professor, OBGY Department, Gandhi Medical College, Bhopal. She is with us. We welcome you, ma'am, for the panel discussion. Next panelist, Dr. Rekha Singhal, ma'am. She is with us. She is owner of Tanisha Hospital, Riva, and she has also received many awards by the society in last 2 years. We welcome you, ma'am, for the panel discussion. Our next panelist is Dr. Shubha Srivastav. She is Associate Professor, Department of OBGY, Gandhi Medical College, Bhopal. We welcome you, ma'am, for the panel discussion. She is with us. Our next panelist is Dr. Smita Jain, ma'am. She is also with us. She is Consultant Gynecologist, Specialist Reproductive Health, Director at Maple Clinic, Indirapuram, Ghaziabad. We welcome ma'am for the panel discussion. Doctor's panelist, she join in middle, ma'am. She is not here, but she may join in middle. She is busy with some emergency right now.
Okay.
Over to you, Lakshmi ma'am, Lakshmi Shikande ma'am, for carry forwarding the panel discussion.
So welcome all the panelists. So I will be sharing my screen. Basically, I have made it a case-based panel discussion because theory everyone is well aware. So we are not discussing any theory. So let us discuss some practical aspects. Is my screen share gone? Just a minute. So my screen is visible, Neetu?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Abnormal uterine bleeding, we all know that it is the commonest condition, and our OPD, 25 to 30% they come for abnormal uterine bleeding, and we have to look for the iron deficiency anemia and the negative impact this has on the quality of life, apart from whatever things you are considering. These are all discarded terminologies. We no more use these terminologies. Instead, these are the accepted terminologies: AUB, HMB for heavy menstrual bleeding, HPMB, that is heavy and prolonged menstrual bleeding, IMB, intermenstrual bleeding, and PMB, that is postmenopausal bleeding. FIGO has recommended that we should not use the DUB but use HMB. Whenever we are discussing abnormal uterine bleeding, I really want to emphasize to all our delegates that abnormal uterine bleeding is not a diagnosis. Remember, don't write AUB as a diagnosis. It can be a symptom or it can be a sign for whatever patient is coming to you. And the abnormal uterine bleeding, the current definition is any variation from the normal menstrual cycle, and it includes changes in regularity, frequency, duration of flow, or amount of blood loss. So these four things you have to consider. It can be acute or it can be chronic. I'm sure everyone knows about the palm coin because our panel discussion, the cases are also based according to the palm coin classification. This everyone should start using it in your day-to-day practice. So now let us come to the first case. She is 43-year-old, gravida 2, para 2. Last childbirth was 15 years back. She has come to you with HMB since last 4 years. She gives you history of DNC and polypectomy 2 years back. Histopathology, it was proliferative phase. This HMB recurred after 6 months, and now the ultrasound is showing polyp of 0.5 centimeter. She has taken pause MF on her own, and now she has come to you for further advice. So from my panelist, I would like this. She also had mild pallor. Hemoglobin was 9 gram. On per speculum examination, os was open. Small polyp was visualized. PV, same polyp felt of 1 centimeter size, and repeat USG at your place, means at my place, showed bulky uterus, ET of 8 millimeter, polyp was arising from the uterine cavity, feeding vessel was identified on Doppler, admixture were unremarkable. So now we will be deliberating on whether you should go ahead with hormonal treatment or you will go ahead with a blind DNC polypectomy or hysteroscopic polypectomy, or she has completed her childbearing, so somebody might jump to the hysterectomy or any other options. So now the case is open to discussion, and I am stopping the slide share so that I can see you all. So yes, Archana, what you will, how you will go ahead?
This is a case of a 43-year-old female, and she had already polyp once in the previous 6 months prior. So she has developed again polyp. So we, in this case, we will investigate other aspects also, although the findings are given, for the treatment purpose, patient should be siege anemic, so anemia must be controlled, and she must have injectable iron, and after that 3 months of oral iron, so that her restore will be replenished. But for definitive treatment, in this case, we go for histoscopic polypectomy and biopsy.
Yeah, hysteroscopic polypectomy, and of course you will be sending the material for histopathology.
For biopsy, yeah, histopathological examination.
Recurred. So now what?
Yeah.
You have done hysteroscopic polypectomy. So how you can prevent
No,
the recurrence? What
we can go for we can give progesterone in the form of mirena insertion. LNGIS we can insert. In this case, it will help her for further 5 years. But after insertion, we go for repeated histopathological examination at 3 to 6 month interval, so that we can see the regression.
The first report was a proliferative phase. After Mirena, you want to do 6 months surveillance.
Atrophic. It will be, yeah, it will be atrophic, but we should look for any changes.
No, that 6 months surveillance I will come when histopathology, the glandular hyperplasia, I mean that endometrial hyperplasia without a tip. Yeah. Gunjan, what measures you will take? Because she is really apprehensive that it should not recur. This is the second time it has recurred. So was it incomplete resection at the first setting? I mean, let's discuss. Was it a benign recurrence, or was it incomplete surgery in the first setting? Was a blind polypectomy? I mean, what probabilities? Can't hear you, Gunjan. Huh? You're not audible.
Ma'am, after polypectomy, we should do DNC also to
audible now?
Yes, you are audible, Gunjan.
Actually, it is a case of recurrence, I think, because prior it was done completely.
Madam, it can be incomplete polypectomy. It can be incomplete or blinded polypectomy. The polyp might not have been removed completely. It can be proliferative polypoidal endometrium can also be there if not given a further treatment for hormone balance.
See, proliferative endometrium does not go
Polypoidal endometrium, sorry.
of polyp. So you have to really see the previous record, whether it was really hysteroscopic polypectomy. Even if it was hysteroscopic polypectomy, the person who has performed must be trained. Usually the problem is with inadequate distension, or some polyp might be missed and it is not a complete surgery. So that you have to consider. And
most of the time it's incomplete surgery which leads to this recurrence kind of thing.
Pardon?
I'm saying mostly it is an incomplete resection.
Correct. That is why I'm saying don't jump to any other thing, but first discuss why it has means there is recurrence. First and foremost is incomplete surgery.
Incomplete resection.
Yes. So when you are performing, you have to be extra careful, and it has to be under direct vision that you are removing the whole polyp. And of course, check curettage, so we all do. If it is a benign recurrence, then what measures you will take?
Also, when we are doing it, she's already 43-year-old. I feel we should be offering her a Mirena also, because then
Mirena we have already.
Like if that will occur, so the recurrence of endometrial polyp is then reduced, minimized, I would say. So Mirena should be offered to her if a hysteroscopy is being done, for sure.
So this was a very simple case. All are on the same page. Everyone wants to add anything to this case?
In case of recurrence, or if she has problems, she can consult for hysterectomy also in near future. Because especially
No, madam.
Don't
talk we don't offer 43-year-old at hysterectomy for single polyp.
Actually, in many of the centers, there is no hysteroscopic facility. So once we can do but for repeated, the load is so much, so she may be apprehensive. Then we can for the future, she may have, I think so.
I think nowadays everybody is, as gynecologists, we should be trained in hysteroscopy because it's a very simple procedure and we should
That's
do
true.
it.
That's
Each and every gynecologist should be able to perform. If you are not competent, you are not confident, there are many
you have sent to the
freelancer
specialist. Yeah.
endoscopic surgeons, and
Hmm.
please be liberal and refer your patient to a good endoscopy unit. Don't consider monetary gains here and don't do a blind DNC for this patient, please.
Yeah, we are
Refer
not
her
doing
to
no.
a good endoscopy unit and they will take care of the polyp. Please, we don't speak of hysterectomy for such a benign disease. Now government of India has come out with the guidelines how we can reduce the numbers of hysterectomies. So first it was cesarean section. We could not audit ourselves. Now government has come out with the hysterectomy guidelines.
Yeah.
Not talking of
See, we have to be very careful about it because it can have very soon, like can be a legal liability as well.
Yeah,
And
I always tell everyone.
I would say hysteroscope is like a stethoscope for a physician.
Correct. Because you just can't utter a word hysterectomy to your patient. In case this patient lands up with some problem and she goes to court of law, if there is a medical legal litigation, you should be able to justify the indication for hysterectomy. It starts from there. Don't think that I have done thousands of hysterectomy and I do hysterectomy in 20 minutes.
No.
And
Not now. We are not doing hysterectomy left and right. Yeah.
viewers, all the delegates.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Now
true.
the era has changed. We have to preserve the uterus. So we are for what everyone has said. Yes, do a complete hysteroscopic polypectomy followed by check curettage and
Mirena
Mirena insertion and see the histopathology report. Yes, call her for follow-up and see how she is doing. Yes, Gunjan, you want to add? Someone wants to add something? Now, if this you have sent histopathology and this comes as, now everyone knows that WHO has come out with only two classifications.
Yeah.
Endometrial hyperplasia without atypia, endometrial
And with atypia
with atypia. So what Dr.
or endometrial inverse.
Suppose अभी आपने histopathology भेजा है and the histopathology report comes as endometrial hyperplasia without atypia, जिसके chances बहुत ज़्यादा है. If it is really recurrence, then it is hyperestrogenemia somewhere and histopathology comes as endometrial hyperplasia without atypia at 43 years of age. Now what next?
We have already inserted Mirena in this case.
Yes.
We can give a continuous progesterone
Now
therapy.
tell me the follow-up, what Dr. Archana was saying. Somebody was saying the follow-up. See, these are the only classification for endometrial hyperplasia which everyone has to incorporate in your day-to-day practice. You can't write cystic glandular hyperplasia or adenomatous hyperplasia, nothing doing. So now endometrial hyperplasia with atypia, without atypia. So what is the risk of CA endometrium?
Only 5%.
Only 1%.
Only 5%. 0 to 5%.
Yes,
0 to 5%. Yeah.
I showed this slide for benefit of all the delegates that please, the moment you see the word hyperplasia, don't jump to the conclusion that she will develop CA endometrium. The risk in this woman is less than 5%.
5%.
Most cases they will regress on its own. Yes, of course. Mirena will make the things easier for her. So as everyone has said, LNG is the first choice. But if at all it is contraindicated or she is not willing, sometimes they have
second line is
hesitation.
progesterone. Yeah.
Then you can give oral progesterone, but in oral, whether you will give cyclical or continuous.
No, continuous for 6 months.
Because you want regression of this endometrial hyperplasia, so it has to be continuous progesterone, continuous oral progesterones. And what are the indications for hysterectomy? I am not projecting this slide. Tell me the indications for hysterectomy in this category.
if patient is not responding to treatment and or if she has biopsy and there is atypical, the report comes atypical hyperplasia.
No, we are not
Or
talking. Report is endometrial hyperplasia without atypia.
Madam, if the disease is continuously progressive, then we can transfer another treatment.
Or if the patient is really adamant to have hysterectomy
If
and
patient cannot come for the
follow-up, yeah.
then definitely this is a high-risk patient. Those
And
who cannot
atypia
comply
converted
with
to
the medical treatment, then it can be an indication obesity, other high-risk factors like type 2 diabetes, comorbidities, then probably.
See, there are high regression rate with progesterone, so we are not offering hysterectomy as the first line. It is only and only indicated
last
in
resort.
those cases where there is no regression after 12 months of treatment. Who progress to atypical hyperplasia, we will see the surveillance part. There is relapse after treatment completion, or those who have persistent abnormal bleeding, or those who decline to comply with your treatment and surveillance. Now, please don't fit each and every case of hysterectomy in this fifth criteria, because if you counsel them well, they do come. So now tell me the surveillance part before I show that slide. Now, in endometrial hyperplasia without atypia, of course, you have to do surveillance. So how you will do surveillance? And if you have inserted Mirena, how you will go ahead and do that surveillance? Now, two questions to all the esteemed panelists.
In the high risk group, we have to do surveillance at 3 months interval for at least 2 years.
Though there is no such term as high risk cases.
Yeah, that in case of
according to the
endometrial hyperplasia with atypia,
PSG
endometrial hyperplasia with atypia, or endometrial intraepithelial hyperplasia. In these two cases, these are high risk cases. In these cases, then
no. There is no such category. If it is endometrial hyperplasia without atypia, you have to do endometrial surveillance every 6 months.
Yes,
in women who are at higher risk of relapse, like those who are having BMI more than 35, or those who are treated with oral
type 2
progestins,
diabetes.
long-term follow-up with annual endometrial sampling is required after 2 consecutive negative endometrial biopsies. You got it? I would like to repeat, every 6 months you have to do. Once it comes negative, means there is no endometrial hyperplasia, then you have to stop. If it is not a high-risk patient, high-risk cases are those who are having BMI more than 35, or those who have treated with oral progestagens. Now you have inserted Mirena. So how you will be taking this endometrial biopsy?
Quickly we can take.
Yeah, you can. With Mirena inside, you can. There are
Pimples.
yes,
Pimples.
Yes. So you all can do with people. I am not asking you the management of endometrial hyperplasia with atypia, because it is the straightforward hysterectomy. So in endometrial hyperplasia without atypia, hysterectomy is not the first line of treatment. You have to treat her with LNG-IUS, first choice. Second is
oral
oral
continuous.
progestogens. This is the surveillance, and hysterectomy is indicated only in those 5 indications which I told you. So I think we all are on the same page before we go to the second case.
So, ma'am, oral progestogens for 6 months or first for 3 months, and then please clarify that. 6 months continuous.
No, it is continuous, and the dose is also high. If you are giving hydroxyprogesterone 10 to 20 milligram
10 to 20 milligrams per day.
If not testosterone, then 10 to 30 milligram per day.
But continuously for 6 months, because sometimes people give for 3 months only.
Depending, you have to take a call.
Okay. And surveillance में transvaginal sonographic measurement of endometrium is not there. It's just the biopsy.
Not give you histopathology picture. So we are not monitoring the endometrial thickness here. You want to have the repeat biopsies which will tell you that now hyperplasia has regressed. So that is why you have to do endometrial biopsy.
Okay, and once the biopsy has now no hyperplasia, then what will be the follow-up for
You can
these
stop.
patients?
You can stop further
After 6 months.
monitoring unless and until she is having BMI more than 35 or she is at higher
Or
risk
the
of developing CA endometrium.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so we can go to the next case. That is also very interesting case. She is 43-year-old. She is complaining of frequent heavy bleeding. There is frequency, there is heavy bleeding since 6 to 8 months. She wants to undergo hysterectomy because her her USG report is showing 2.5 centimeter fibroids in the body of the uterus. Rest everything is normal. Her menstrual history, she bleeds for 6 to 7 days. Her period comes frequently, that is every 20 to 24 days. There is no dysmenorrhea, but there is heavy flow with passing of clots. She has had 3 cesarean sections. Bilateral tubectomy was done along with last C-section that was 10 years back. There is no history of malignancy in the family or any other major illness in the past. First speculum is healthy. PV is also, you can say, normal, of course, with restricted mobility. And now we would like to discuss the approach to the management. Again, whether you will go with hormonal, you will go with Mirena, you will go with endometrial ablation, hysterectomy on demand, how you will proceed in this case.
See,
And
best
patient is having
cystoscopy and a Mirena insertion should be offered in such patients because that is the least invasive method. And hysterectomy on demand, which can be given but should not be given. And the other thing is then it requires a lot of documentation because you cannot, if due to any reason she goes in the court of law, then it cannot be supported. So basically hysterectomy on demand cannot be given. I feel if she really demands that hysterectomy, then you have to say something like that she's not ready for a follow-up and she cannot do a follow-up or anything like that.
How many of you have gone through that 49-page PDF which Government of India has come out on hysterectomy guidelines? How many of you have actually seen or gone through?
and we have seen.
I have not gone through.
Please go through
I have
this.
not read.
Available on Google, download karo, padho. Government of India, they have given you the treatment for each and every condition. Believe me, go through that document. They have given you treatment for fibroid, what you are supposed to do. For adenomyosis, everything is there in that document. For HMB, for AUB. So this case just does not fit. You just can't document. They have said what you are supposed to do because she has come to you with frequent heavy menstrual bleeding. Hysterectomy on demand at this stage is just not justified. You have to give Mirena, she is not willing. You have to give oral progestrogens, whatever. But you just can't say that she is not ready to take the treatment and that is why I have done hysterectomy. Madhumita is silent, our young brigade. Madhumita.
Yes, ma'am. So definitely at 43 years old, going for hysterectomy is definitely not advisable. Her, as such, she has, for structural causes, she has only 2 small fibroids, and her endometrium is also thin. It's only 6 millimeters. So most probably, as such, there is, and her uterus also doesn't seem very large. So most likely, maybe her endometrium is also thin. So first will be hormonal treatment for her, ma'am. So, Mirena insertion would be preferable.
Proper counseling, reassurance, and then hormonal.
The non-hormonal part of the treatment also.
Yeah, because I don't think so. These 2 small fibroids would be the reason for her so amount of
not
So most
bleeding, heavy menstrual bleeding.
most likely at 43 years old, maybe she's having more of hormonal imbalance, the perimenopausal hormonal imbalance, which is leading to this heavy menstrual bleed. So I
Bleeding.
think she'll, and her uterus is not very large also. I think Mirena insertion would be apt for her.
I am just searching that because.
Colon can be given in this patient.
A minute. What has happened? Just a minute. Where is Government of India guidelines? See, is my screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
See, this is the Government of India guidelines. It was released on 28th of April 23. So now it's 1 year. And I will just go through the contents. They have given you common indications. They have given you guidelines. They have given you overview of treatment modalities. And I will just go through the treatment modalities where they have told you what to do. See, these are the indications for hysterectomy according to the guidelines. Okay. So, potential causes of abnormal uterine bleeding has been mentioned in these guidelines. They have given you treatment plan for all these conditions, vaginal discharge, lower abdominal pain, that these are not the indications for hysterectomy, because they want that every gynecologist should avoid unindicated hysterectomy. And this is the why they have come out with this document. Then this is how they will be doing, but I will just community strategies. This is not of interest to us, but I will just show you the monitoring. And no, this is again their part. They have formed the boards and all. Now clinical protocols. In these clinical protocols, they have given you various management modalities available for hysterectomy. So if it is a case of abnormal uterine bleeding, see, they have given you the medical management. Give NSAID, give GnRH agonist, then what you can do, Annexer 4, then various sling operations if she comes to you with vaginal prolapse, reconstructive surgeries they have described for you. Then many of us are doing hysterectomy for cervical erosions. So now these Government of India guidelines are telling you the treatment options for precancerous lesions of cervix, or if you see unhealthy cervix, right from which antibiotic, what dose, and how you should go ahead. They have given you the medical treatment for cervical infection, the pap smear, how you should do it. Treatment of CIN is given in these guidelines. Management of vaginal discharge they have given you. Abdominal pain they have given you in great detail. So unless and until you have complied with all these things which government is telling you to do, you just can't write that patient is not willing and I will go ahead with the hysterectomy on demand. So that was the purpose. Please download. If you just type Government of India guidelines on hysterectomy on your Google, the whole PDF comes up. So go through it for your own knowledge. Yes, as far as this patient is concerned, what everyone is saying, you have to counsel. Frequent uterine bleeding, frequent menses, heavy menstrual bleeding, you all can manage with Mirena, or you can manage with COC also. I mean, she is not having endometrial hyperplasia, so no need to give high doses of continuous progesterone. Just give her COC every month. So she will be so happy that every month she is getting periods. So you can control with combined oral contraceptives rather than Mirena is more preferred option here.
For COC, low dose, I think low dose should be given. No?
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
we
yeah.
give the hospital supply, Malayan or Malayan?
See, the basic funda of giving COC for any indication.
After 35, you are not giving in routine practice.
No. Please. Combined oral contraceptives are very, very safe. I don't know how many of you are aware about that MEC wheel, that medical eligibility criteria wheel. Now I can't see you all. How many of you have really gone through the MEC wheel?
I've gone through, ma'am.
Huh?
I've gone through.
Only one? Anyone else? MEC wheel? Just raise your hands. Yeah, I can see two. Any other person
I
who
have
has
seen, but not remembering every
it is for
product.
contraception, but
Yeah.
medical eligibility wheel, that WHO
Yeah,
criteria
they
for
available in our
contraception
place. Yeah.
comes to your handy. It acts as a ready reckoner because combined
Yeah.
oral contraceptives are not only for contraception, but we are using it
Yeah,
for
that we know.
various other reasons. And if
Yeah.
you are well versed with that MEC wheel, you will know that combined oral contraceptives are very safe. So just because she is above the age of 35 years, it does not mean that you cannot give COC to her. This patient is a perfect candidate where you give
For COC.
the basic funda is give lowest possible hormone content. We all give 30 microgram of ethinyl estradiol, and progesterone should be drosperinone because it is the safest progesterone. So you have to see what content you are giving, which dose you are giving. Of course, you have to rule out the contraindications before you start her on COC, and you have to monitor her. But this case can be very well managed and she will be very happy. She will really have compliance because she is happy. Her periods are coming every month. She is relieved from her HMB. Progesterone IUCD is next. She does not need endometrial ablation as of now. Hysterectomy on demand is strictly no. So are everyone on the same page with me?
Any role of Antara? Madam, any role of Antara?
Yes. You
because
can.
we have available in our government setup and we are using it. That's why
Yeah.
we are
See,
doing
they
good.
don't have to buy if your patient is poor. Even your Mala N, Mala D, which they get free of cost, or I think in
Antara injection also.
PSC and subcenter, you can tell them to get that also. If they can't buy the oral contraceptive pills of a branded company, they can take those oral contraceptives as well. In case she progresses, or not a hysterectomy on demand, but in case she really needs hysterectomy, she's just 43 years of age. So how many of you will remove ovaries and fallopian tubes?
Fallopian tube I will remove in every case, but not the ovary. Reserve ovary because it is functioning till 65 years.
Yes. Everyone
Definitely not ovaries, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Definitely not ovaries not to be removed.
bilateral salpingectomy you should do in each and every case. Wherever you are doing hysterectomy, but to remove ovaries or not is your discretion. But yes, you should try to preserve ovaries wherever you can definitely preserve. So is this case now we can close? Everyone is on the same page? Anyone wants to add anything?
Just one thing, madam, the use of COCs, this is actually quite underutilized, and with the presence of fibroids, like in this case, people defer using COCs because they think that might increase the size of the fibroid. So please clarify on this point also, because this is one of the common notions that people have.
Read
In
a
COC,
lot
there is
because
solution
I
also.
given talk on medical management of fibroids, and in that medical management COC is recommended. COC does not increase the size of fibroids.
Size of fibroids.
You can give COC in cases of fibroids as well. Because this is not my personal experience, what guidelines are recommending, that I am telling you. So now let's go to third case. We will discuss. This is the last case which we will be discussing. She is 42-year-old widow. She has come to you. This is the old terminology I have used. She has never went for any checkup to any gynecologist. This is her first visit. She has 2 normal delivery. Last childbirth was 20 years back. No significant major illness. But on per speculum examination, you see cervical congestion, cervical hypervascularity, and PV you can say is normal. So this is the cervical picture. Now, what to do? Workup. Yes, anyone can take this question. This is our point of discussion: CBC, urine pregnancy test, ultrasound, colposcopy directed biopsy, and then how you will go ahead. Management of this cervical hypervascularity.
I will go for
colposcopy directed biopsy will be done.
But
But
first to take a LBC
test,
sample with
test.
HPV DNA testing. First will be my taking up liquid-based cytology and an HPV DNA testing, because the cervix looks a little is a suspicious looking cervix. First will be that.
Maybe cervicitis as well. So antibiotic course prior to any kind of evaluation may be warranted. So an antibiotic followed by a pap smear and HPV DNA testing. And then as per the report or a via
ultrasound is also very much necessary.
Definitely an
Ultrasound
ultrasound
will go.
at the
Yes,
first visit as soon as she
cancer
comes.
will go.
Because
Yeah.
you are perfectly right. Whenever there is infection, you are not supposed to take pap smear because you will just get only inflammatory smear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this case you don't have to jump because this is such a frequent finding in our OPD. If we bother to do per speculum examination in each and every gynec patient, to be very frank, because this is a magnified view, so it is looking very, very suspicious. But if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just put a speculum, you see erosion on anterior lip, erosion on posterior lip, angry red looking cervix. I mean, you just don't have to panic as a gynecologist. First treat the infection, call her again, and then take a call whether you want to do colposcopy. Even all patients, they don't need colposcopy. How many
yeah,
of you
yeah.
agree with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Erosion or
Yes, ma'am.
this, I mean, just a cervicitis does not need colposcopy.
Yes, ma'am, it does not.
I think so because
After antibiotic, we should take pap smear, no? She have never had pap smear in this case.
respond so well to the doxycycline course. So
Yeah.
well, they
Yeah,
respond to doxycycline. Yes, ultrasound you all should do. I mean, to look for the admixture, to look for the endometrial thickness, whatever. And now you have done colposcopy in this case, that is colposcopy directed biopsy. Somebody was saying the report is moderate dysplasia. Now, what next you will do?
So, ma'am, moderate dysplasia can be treated conservatively. I mean, by either ablative or say excisional procedures. So we can go for either.
And my second point, any patient who comes to you with abnormal uterine bleeding, please do urine pregnancy test because she can become pregnant even at the age of 47 years, even at the age of 48 years, and she can have all pregnancy related complications. Now we are seeing more and more of these complications because they start fertility late. At 47, 48, they think I just cannot become pregnant. I have myself seen cases of pregnancy. So urine pregnancy test is a must in each and every case of abnormal uterine bleeding starting from adolescent till menopause. Everyone agrees? Because we
Yeah.
have to do
Yes.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, first you have to rule out pregnancy complications. In this case, of course, cervicitis. You are worried about the CA cervix. Yes, for dysplasia, who was saying the treatment? Observation or hysterectomy for moderate dysplasia?
We can
Observation.
go
And
for ablative or excisional therapy as well. Why resort to hysterectomy in first go? And observation for moderate dysplasia may not be a very good option, but yes, we can go for cryo, or either cryo or say thermal ablation or even excisional procedures in this case.
Yeah, because now the colposcopy you can do wonders. I mean, do all the treatments. So this patient requires treatment, but not the hysterectomy. So it should not be. Even if she panics, I know many patients, they just panic the moment you tell them you are having fibroid, you are having erosion, you are having a cyst. They say कि हमारा childbearing हो गया है, तुम uterus निकाल दो. गुंजन मुझसे बात कर रही है, किससे कर रही है? So yes, Nita, you want to say something?
तो मैम मेरा यही क्वेश्चन था कि इसके फाइंडिंग्स में मतलब जैसे आपने कहा कि एंटीबायोटिक के बाद ही एलबीसी लेना है बट समटाइम्स वी जस्ट फॉर
हम
द
लोग ले
सेक ऑफ
लेते हैं
नॉट
बस
लूजिंग द
विजिट पे ही ले लेते हैं।
अपॉर्चुनिटी बिकॉज
हाँ,
पेशेंट उस समय तो अग्री करता है
वो
तो मुझे
बस
लगता है
नहीं करना
कि
चाहिए ज्यादा है।
एलबीसी
हाँ,
और आजकल एचपीवी डीएनए टेस्टिंग इज मोर
हाँ,
इम्पोर्टेंट
करने के
रादर
हिसाब से।
देन डूइंग एन एलबीसी सो आई थिंक दैट सर्व्स द पर्पस कि एचपीवी डीएनए तो आएगा मैम अगर हम स्क्रीनिंग करेंगे तो मतलब
कर
मे बी अ
सकते हैं
पॉइंट
या
ऑफ
हम लोग कर लेते
डिफरेंस
हैं
सो
मैं आजकल हर
whether it is wrong or
HPV डीएनए
क्या
कर
मैम
रही हूँ, अभी तक किसी का तो पॉजिटिव नहीं आया.
बट
नहीं
मैम
मैडम
हाँ
मेरा
मतलब
तो आया है 2-3 केस का
हाँ
पॉजिटिव आया है।
नहीं नहीं, we are offering HPV DNA because अभी आ गया है and they are not
हाँ, हाँ, हाँ,
vaccinated, they have not taken the HPV vaccination, so we are
हाँ।
perfectly justified in doing the
लेकिन
pap
मैडम आता है कभी कभी मेरे बच्चे ऐसे कि 100 केस में 2-3 आ गया है तो पता नहीं।
smear. आ गया, good good.
हाँ, बट मैम जिस
Correct,
फ्रीक्वेंसी से
correct.
एस्कस और ये सब आता था, मे बी वो यही बोल रहे, क्योंकि मैंने भी किसी ऑन्कोलॉजी टीम से सुना कि दे आर लाइक प्रेफरिंग HPV DNA, और आने वाले टाइम में मे बी दिस वुड बी अ प्रेफर्ड मोड ऑफ
दूसरा 5
स्क्रीनिंग।
साल के लिए भी होता है, इसलिए इसको करना ज्यादा अच्छा
We
है।
have started offering HPV DNA. थोड़ा सा कॉस्टली है तो कुछ पेशेंट्स डिक्लाइन करते हैं, बट वी डॉक्यूमेंट इट ऑन द फाइल दैट वी हैव एडवाइज्ड देम HPV DNA टेस्टिंग. To be on safer side, you have to, and if they are willing, we do take that HPV DNA. So pap smear, गुंजन का आवाज नहीं आ रहा है. HPV
गुंजन, यू आर म्यूटेड, आप नहीं, आपका वॉइस नहीं आ रहा है ना।
और पैप स्मीयर तो आपको करना ही है। अगर आपके पास कोल्पोस्कोपी है आप खुद करो, नहीं है तो प्लीज रेफर देम टू अ सेंटर वेयर देयर इज अ गुड वीडियो कोल्पोस्कोपी फैसिलिटीज आर अवेलेबल. Let them do colposcopy directed biopsy, and whatever is the report on biopsy, that person can very well manage that patient on colposcopic directed biopsy. Hysterectomy unless and until it is indicated. Yes, गुंजन तुम्हारा कुछ ऑडियो का प्रॉब्लम है बेटा.
हम इस पेशेंट में हिस्टेरेक्टमी नहीं करेंगे तो क्लोज मॉनिटरिंग करना जरूरी है।
करेक्ट
हम लोग तो ऐसे भी अर्ली करेंगे इसमें ना।
देखो, क्लोज मॉनिटरिंग करना जरूरी है, बिल्कुल है. हम ये नहीं बोल सकते हैं कि वो आने के लिए तैयार नहीं है इसलिए हम उसका हिस्टेक्टोमी कर रहे हैं. इसलिए मैंने बोला आज सब लोग घर जाके सबको होमवर्क दिया है मैंने, पहले वो डॉक्यूमेंट डाउनलोड करो और वर्ड बाय वर्ड पढ़ो. बिकॉज अभी तो बोर्ड फॉर्म नहीं हुआ है, दे आर नॉट कमिंग टू अवर हॉस्पिटल, दे आर नॉट एक्चुअली काउंटिंग हाउ मेनी हिस्टेक्टोमीज वी आर डूइंग, बट सून they will start inspection and they will start auditing. So it is better that we go through those guidelines and we start complying with those guidelines.
Just one more point, ma'am. In this case, there was moderate dysplasia, but many of the patients of erosion and maybe ectropion, they don't
और
demonstrate
inflammatory
any kind
smear,
of
many times
pathology.
inflammatory
Then,
smear और
then
bacterial
what should
vaginosis
be
है many
done?
time
Whether you have
finding.
treated infection.
Am I audible now? नहीं तो please.
Now you're
Now
audible.
you are audible.
No, I am. तब से बोल रही हूँ. I'm thinking कि क्या है यार.
So, Dr. Lakshmi ma'am, please enlighten on this also, because erosion, ectropion without any findings on LVC, everything
Ablative
is
तो
normal.
treatment दे
Then
सकते
how
हैं
will
ना.
you counsel and follow these patients?
अगर
नहीं, ablation तो करेंगे ना डॉक्टर लक्ष्मी, because she is having an erosion and she is having discharge, so you will treat her ना, you will treat her for
एब्लेशन करो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है.
हिस्टेक्टोमी नहीं करो.
काउंसलिंग करके करो. और बहुत सारे इरोजन के केसेस विदाउट एब्लेशन भी, इफ यू गिव देम अ गुड कोर्स ऑफ एंटीबायोटिक्स, जेनाइटल हाइजीन, and if you tell the male partner to wash his organ before penetration, it really works wonders. Why these patients are having so much cervical problems? Because of the smegma, to be very frank. So if you just educate the couple that they have to take care of the hygiene before becoming intimate, both male and female, I am telling you both, especially male, if we can just take this simple precaution and if you give good antibiotics, it regresses on its own. If not, yes, you can do colposcopy, I mean ablation, but hysterectomy तो कहीं से भी नहीं बनता है. हाँ बोलो.
Anyway, I feel the awareness is quite good now and people don't ask also. At least in this area where we are practicing the hysterectomy, I hardly, very few. Of course, I am into fertility mainly, but very few.
Sexual life will be affected after hysterectomy. How many of you really know that uterus is not a vestigial organ which should be just chucked off because she has finished her childbearing? Do you really know that even after preserving ovaries, they stop functioning after 6 months or after 1 year?
Exactly. So hysterectomy definitely is not the option.
That I have conserved ovaries. मैंने तो सिर्फ यूट्रस निकाला है जो वैसे भी कुछ काम का नहीं था. Don't boast. Ovaries काम करना बंद कर देती है. So even if at the age of 43 you are removing ovaries, at the age of 44 she is going to become the menopause. So it is a case of premature menopause, which will affect her bone health, her cardiovascular health. She will become more prone for hypertension. You are making her life miserable. And what about her sexual history? Please, cervix is essential for a good sex. So how many of you really believe in that, and how many of you really educate the patient about the life after hysterectomy? She is very vulnerable. She has come to you at that vulnerable spot where she is fed up of those heavy menstrual bleeding, frequent bleeding, but she doesn't know the consequences. But you as a gynecologist, you know, na? So take a time, 5 minutes, counsel them about the consequences, and I'm sure they will agree with you as far as the conservative.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Because the thing is, I tell you, we do so many, at least this type of patients coming, we do so many hysteroscopies and Mirena insertions, and hardly we do hysterectomies. Hardly, I would say. Like the hysterectomy rate is going down, and if you educate them, they really, and they're actually not interested also. We need to understand, we have to counsel them, and most of them would agree. There is very rarely you will get a patient who will say, ki, nahi, main ye nahi, ye nahi, ye nahi. They are very much receptive.
The moment you tell them the life after hysterectomy, how they become vulnerable for osteoporosis, cardiovascular, hypertension, even their sexual life. I mean, they just agree with conservative management. Yes, hysterectomy is the last resort. I am not saying ki don't do it, but it is the last resort, not the first option.
And most of the time they don't want also. Like if you educate them, the moment you educate them of the option, the Mirena is such a wonderful option, and if you combine it with hysteroscopy, then you're sure you're not missing on anything. It is a very good option, and it works majority of the cases. Like I hardly have had a patient who is coming back after the failure of Mirena. In fact, sometimes you will have problems in the initial 3 to 5 months also. But if you put them proper counseling, and if required, sometimes you need to add progestogens. And after that, it just settles down. It settles down. They won't even come back to you on a yearly basis. They will come only after 5 years when they remember, yes.
I completed my 50 years.
About the spotting and irregular bleeding, because in Indian context, that is what matters to them. That is what bothers. If you counsel them, they accept it.
Yeah, it's just the counseling which has to be done, and it goes very well, very well.
Rekha, Shubha, you are quite Rekha.
I'm Rekha.
Your voice.
Ma'am,
one question.
Yes.
Ma'am, if the a patient is presented with discharge per vaginum, and most of the time we see the cervical atrophy on, and we are working in the government setup in the government medical college. There are no facility for HPV DNA testing, and the pap smear report take almost 10 to 12 days. So we can go antibiotic and then directly for VIA.
VIA कर लो ना, VIA तो बहुत आसान है, बहुत effective, वो भी है, correlation अच्छा है.
If the VIA is negative, then we directly can go for a thermal ablation.
You can. But see, that is what I am saying. India is such a diverse country that we just can't say that this should be done or this should not be done. Like you are having so many resource constraints. So you have to see what you can do in your resource setting. But yes, of course, in that low resource setting also try to avoid hysterectomy as much as possible. That is what is my message. I'm not saying don't do it. We don't want to miss cancer also on one hand, but we don't want to do unnecessary, unindicated hysterectomies as well. It depends whether you are in a corporate setup, whether you are in a single doctor nursing home, whether you are in a government setup. I mean, you have to mobilize your own resources. Yes.
Then suppose we do ablation in this patient and she developed adhesions, and how will we do follow up?
Ablation doesn't give adhesions.
Cervical ablation, ma'am.
Cervical ablation से मैम adhesion कभी नहीं बनते.
कुछ नहीं होता.
Maybe she's thinking endometrial ablation. We are talking about cervical ablation, ma'am.
Ablation has gone backseat. Now everyone prefers the LNG IUS. So endometrial ablation, 10 years back, it was really on the forefront. Ablation karo, but I doubt. कितने लोग ablation?
नहीं करते.
अभी तो काफी बैक सीट पे चला गया है endometrial.
And just one question regarding Marina, like in perimenopausal age group where you have a moderate size of fibroids, suppose like 3 or 4 centimeters, which are not just touching the endometrial cavity. For those patients you are using Marina and you are having good results. Just wanted
Yes,
to know
Yes,
about,
it gives very good
like even if
results.
it is a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
indenting the endometrium,
Then
if
also
you
it
are
will
able
give
to
very
put
good results.
Marina,
Link कर
then it's a
जाएगा वो,
good option.
It gives very good
हो
results.
जाएगा.
Patient is happy.
Hmm.
He
In
will
the
send you 10 more
we are
patients.
using the brand name which we should avoid. LNG IUS, now
LNG, yeah.
many companies have come forward. The cost has really gone down. Quality is really as good as the original version
Yeah,
which
this
we
is
sell.
something which
Yes,
I
ma'am.
want to
And
hear.
patients, they don't mind spending 2000 or 2500. We just tell them कि भाई chance ले लो, क्या होगा,
Chance,
extend हो
yeah.
जाएगा और क्या होगा, and they really take that chance. It is not that costly if you counsel them well. Yes, now LNG IUS acceptance is increasing, provided there is so much hesitation and mental block among we gynecologists. That is what I am saying. Even in government setup, I don't know whether they are allowed to call from outside, but if patient can come with LNG IUS from outside, they can insert it. I mean, in government setting, if it is not
Yeah,
available,
it should be right, they're being done.
from here.
And one question to Dr. Monica regarding your lecture on fibroids, ma'am. How to follow the, like if the patient is postmenopausal now and she had fibroids, fairly moderate size, then how frequently you call them for monitoring?
6 months.
See, no news is good news. If the patient is okay, she will not come to you. If there's, you have to educate the patient.
No guidelines, and like you have to call them annually
Three
to
monthly. No,
monitor
I
the
said
size.
in my lecture, if she is a known case of fibroids, and especially if you use
Uh,
medical treatment or you have just waited and watched, then it is prudent to call her at least 3 monthly.
Okay.
You know?
Madam,
And
not
if she,
treated. She was
But I think
asymptomatic
in
fibroid,
asymptomatic,
but we
yearly ultrasound is okay, I think.
no, yearly, no, of course, she will
No.
not come to you, but she was symptomatic. That is why she came to you, no?
Yeah.
no,
So
she
in
was
that case,
diagnosed
okay.
as a fibroid on ultrasound only. She
हाँ
didn't
हाँ
come
तब
for
तक
that
जैसे
Then
complaint.
no
actually
need to come
okay.
3 monthly. Just if it is an incidental diagnosis on ultrasound, you can just, if she's already had children, she's coming with the, just in the perimenopausal period, she has a fibroid, you just wait and watch till she transitions to menopause. That transition may take some time. The transition starts from early stage and late stage, and once she
They
transitions,
agree, like, matlab never ever she needs to look
No,
into her
ma'am. You
ultrasounds
ideally
to.
should be calling the patient 6
This
monthly
is
for
my question. Ki as a follow up, as a routine
6
screening.
monthly. 6 monthly, the patient should be
Every
called 6
6
monthly
months
for
she has
ultrasound
to
evaluation.
undergo ultrasound to know the
Yes.
size in the
Yes.
size difference.
Size, location,
Yes.
and number. Thinking or
We
not.
have to see, we have to document on paper whether she comes
Yeah.
to you every 6 months. I mean, it is her discretion.
yes,
Because if she is asymptomatic, as Monica said, they don't bother to come to you. If
yeah,
she is symptomatic, they will come to you for regular follow-up. If she is asymptomatic, no news is really good news. But yes,
Okay.
you counsel her that you need at least ultrasound to see whether your fibroid is increasing or decreasing. आप इतना बोल दो वो खुद ही आजू बाजू में कहीं पे भी जाके सोनोग्राफी करवा लेती है, आपके पास नहीं आएगी, आजू बाजू में
हाँ
करवा
मतलब rare incidence of leiomyosarcomas और ये सब मतलब
if your fibroid and
1%.
ultrasound has got a sort of hypoechoic center, or there is pain, or if there is, some spotting, then naturally you have to be vigilant. So the only imaging feature which tells you that this myoma may turn into malignant is the increase in the size post-menopause and the development of a hypoechoic vascular center.
Correct, correct.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to monitor.
Thank you so much.
From our side, we have to protect
We
ourselves.
have to always.
Madam, I just like to add a few things to it.
Yes, please.
So all the postmenopausal symptoms, they tend to occur within the first year the woman attains menopause. And if we follow the woman for first couple of years, and if she remains asymptomatic, it's fairly good. But during that time period, we need to follow her up for every, say, 6 monthly. If at all we find an incidental finder, even if the woman is asymptomatic, we should follow her up 6 months.
Just ma'am, last question. Among the medical management, out of mifepristone or ulipristal, which is your preferred choice for reducing the size of the fibroid and symptoms in
I do-
perimenopausal age group?
My choice?
Yes, ma'am.
My choice.
सबका choice.
I have used some aromatase inhibitors, but I don't use ulipristal because my only concern was the hepatogenic, the side effects which were so much into vogue. It became with a bang. Then there was a lot of hepatotoxicity. Then it went down. Now again, pharma is propagating it.
It came back, na?
Yeah,
So
it has come back again, but ulipristal, I am not a frequent user. I have used aromatase inhibitors sometimes, but mostly I am an ART person. So mostly I have to think in lines of whether to proceed with ART or not to proceed with ART. The bigger myomas
नहीं ma'am, for
encroaching
perimenopausal, not for fertility concern.
perimenopausal, I think I
Smita, GnRH agonist monthly injections, they are very happy. GnRH agonist, leupride injections. That
But
you
ma'am,
are
then वो
there are some
menopausal effect आएगा. आप जैसे mifepristone is like you can give it for
temporary
1 to 2 years. That's why
letrozole,
I'm asking.
letrozole is
It takes about
aromatase
6 months
inhibitor.
only.
It is supposed to be having equal efficacy, and I've got good results with letrozole.
Okay.
Continuous use of letrozole and monitoring is also reduced. Your lipids also remain okay, and your endometrium also remains
Okay,
okay.
okay. We have not used it. Let us
Yeah.
use it now.
It's a
Okay,
simple drug.
letrozole for how long you have used it, ma'am? 3 months, 6
Fine.
months continuously?
3 months at a time, and with
3 months.
continuous endometrial
3 to 6
monitoring.
months.
Patients should be on
2.5
regular follow-up.
milligrams once a day. That's the dose.
Once a
Applicable.
day, OD dose.
Yes.
OD dose.
0.5
Yes.
dose. Okay. But I think mifepristone is a lot more publicized rather than letrozole for reducing the
Yeah, yeah.
size and symptoms
One
of
of my PT
fibroids.
had this
told
research
that
paper also.
25 milligram mifepristone is available in India and you all
Yeah,
can use.
yeah.
That is a
My PG has this topic only.
yeah.
So,
Because
Lakshmi ma'am, what are
Mifepristone.
the
Yeah,
advantages of
don't have that.
using mifepristone over letrozole? Any particular guidelines, ma'am?
that I don't know. That Monica will answer.
No,
I
ma'am.
think most of the studies are on mifepristone. I think letrozole is not yet much
But
studied
now
for the
Yeah,
use of
yeah,
fibroid
yeah.
management.
off label,
In
but
that case,
all many people are using, and I'm sure they all will be publishing their experience. But mifepristone, there are many studies.
Yeah, it
Previously,
is well established now. Now it is
was
well
Yeah.
not
established.
available in India, but now that is available. Those low dose mifepristone you all can give.
Yes, ma'am. 25 ml.
Yes, but
Yeah,
you
yeah. It is available in
try
our
to
portal.
avoid. You
We are
can
using.
try to avoid. Yes, so Monica, I
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
all my panelists and special thanks to you. I really enjoyed your this webinar.
Thank you, madam, for clearing some of our myths.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So, madam, it was first I found it
Very,
difficult.
very
How
good,
can I put,
as
family
usual.
committee with
Thank you
food
very
and
much.
drugs committee? Nothing was coming to my mind. Then we formed a theme. I had to call both the chairpersons multiple times. And then once madam said she will take the panel, everything fell into place.
And it
Because
fantastic.
when I said the chief
The
guest,
best, Dr.
madam is
Monica.
taking panel, then everybody will, ma'am, see the number of panelists, ma'am, just because of you. So, ma'am, all
Thanks,
thanks to
Dr.
you. And I think all the flow of talks was good. And we are looking forward to another brilliant symbiosis 12 on 16th of May, which is on internal iliac artery ligation and PPH. So that is also stay tuned to heavy obstetrics in the next webinar, 16th of May. And we, intend to continue with the same zeal, the same series. Thank you, Lakshmi ma'am. Thank you to all Foxy dignitaries. Thank you to our chairpersons. And many thanks to my coordinators, Manisha and Neetu, for sparing so much time, working so hard. And of course, Vishal Dave, Dr. Vishal Dave, who is the medical advisor from Intas. Intas is our pharma partner who has been with us for over a year now. And we have conducted about 13 episodes of Perfection and 11 episodes of Symbiosis. Our average is about for 1 month, and we never repeat a topic. So, madam,
Wow. Great
many
work. Great
thanks.
work. All the best,
You
Dr.
all. Bye.
Thank
Monica.
you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Good night, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
ma'am.
everyone.
Thanks, Dr. Monica. Thanks, Dr. Lakshmi.
Thank
Uh,
you, Dr.
Pleasure to be
Gunjan.
here.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
Dr.
ma'am and
Monica.
Dr.
Thanks,
Monica, for
Dr.
giving me
Lakshmi.
this
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
opportunity.
Archana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
bye
Rekha
everyone.
Sehgal, ma'am. Thank you,
All
Archana
the
ji.
best to all the aspirants for chairperson.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, ma'am.
Shubha ji. Thank you, Smita, Neetu, Padma,
Thank you.
Dolly, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Have a very great night. Thank you. Thank you.